Chapter 563. The Jianan Saraira was like a dragon sucking in water as it quickly absorbed the Vajra seal that sealed Chi Mei's primordial spirit. When the last of the golden light was absorbed by the Saraira, the entire Saraira turned into a dazzling piece of gold. Wang Lan formed a seal with both hands, forming a total of 9 swastikas. Seal! An explosive roar resounded through the 9 heavens, shaking heaven and earth. Wang Lan stretched out his hand, and the golden Saraira fell into Wang Lan's hand. With a raise of his hand, the Saraira was sent into the void storage. With Chi Mei sealed, everyone let out a long sigh of relief. Even Chi Mei's body, which was wriggling in the true samadhi fire, seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, becoming half dead. Since Chi Mei's primordial spirit was sealed, her body should be destroyed. 3,000 years ago, the White Lotus sect was not destroyed because Chi Mei's body contained too many lives. If her body was destroyed, there would not be many survivors in the entire Cloud Sea region. And now, 3,000 years later, the people who were controlled by Chi Mei had long since passed away. Now was the best time to destroy Chi Mei's body. The true Samadhi fire would continue to burn as long as the target was not completely burned. This true Samadhi fire burned for an entire night. In the entire canyon, the temperature rose to more than 60 degrees. After completely burning Chi Mei's body to ashes, Wang Lan's heart finally calmed down. Successfully sealed the primordial spirit of the ancient evil demon Chi Mei, destroyed Chi Mei's body, and averted a calamity. Reward: 70 million experience points, 5 million skill points. The system notification made Wang Lan completely relieved. Wang Lan's Takashi Hoshi was currently StarCraft 4, and his experience bar was instantly pushed to the peak. After spending 20 million experience points to break through to StarCraft 5, the remaining 50 million experience points instantly filled up his experience bar to 80%. At the StarCraft realm, leveling up was extremely difficult. The experience points from averting a calamity was only enough to let Wang Lan level up once. With everything settled, Wang Lan and his group bid farewell to Che Pu and left. They then immediately went to the capital to report to Chief Jean. CEO Jean looked at Wang Lan's case report in his hands, and a smile bloomed on his face. I knew that if I handed this matter to you, Wang Lan, you'd do it beautifully. Thank you for your compliment, Chief Jean. Then, if Chi Mei's soul is sealed again, will he be able to break free again? In theory, yes, but in reality, it's almost impossible. Not only was it sealed by the Vajra seal, but I also threw it into the void storage space. In the void storage, his body was a seal. In my portable space, there is no time or space, only nothingness. He couldn't even think inside, so how could he possibly break out of the seal? Unless I release him on my own accord. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. As for your commendation, forget it. We'll do as we see fit. After all, if you get too many commendations, you probably won't even care about it. Don't. Tell me about it, and make me happy. You're about to take the International Security Council exam, right? When you come back from the exam, you'll have 1 more star on your shoulder. Go. I've worked for dozens of years and only got 2 stars. You, on the other hand, are already on the same level as me as a 20-year-old kid. That's not the same. You deserve it. I'm just encouraging you. Don't give me that. If you have nothing else to do, then go do whatever you want. Last time, I disturbed your date with your little girlfriend. Go back and accompany her to make it up to her. Consider it your fun at public expense. Oh, then I'll go. Wang Lan saluted and said his goodbyes. As for what public expense, Wang Lan treated it as a joke. Can this be reimbursed? Wang Lan didn't have the face to hand over the reimbursement. Besides, Wang Lan didn't lack that money. Returning to Sioux City with Jiang Xinyu, he calculated that there was still half a month before the International Security Council's exam, and in a few days, it would be New Year's Day. Wang Lan called Su Xiangwen and learned that they were coming back this New Year's Day. In that case, there was no rush to go to Shanghai. Jiangnan's climate was indeed unique. After a sudden drop in temperature, it could suddenly rise in temperature. Sometimes the temperature difference could be more than 10 degrees. The day before New Year's Day, the temperature dropped to 3 degrees, and on New Year's Day, the temperature could rise to 15 degrees. Can you believe this? January 1st, 5023. Yesterday's dark weather was replaced by bright sunshine. Sioux City's Green Sea Amusement Park was a plant-themed amusement park. Almost all of the world's famous and magical plants could be found here. Wang Lan and the others, plus Su Xiangwen's girlfriend and Gong Feiyu's girlfriend, a total of 7 people came to the Green Sea Amusement Park. Walking and stopping, they ate and drank along the way. The bright and beautiful weather, coupled with the comfortable temperature, allowed the group to once again experience the carefree time they had when they were students after so many years. When they were in school, they always lamented about when they would be able to make a name for themselves. Looking back now, those were the happiest times of their lives. Jiang Xinyu and CSCC held each other's hands and left happy moments in each of the beautiful places. On this day, Wang Lan was just a tool for them to take photos. Since the battle in the Northwest, Wang Lan was worried that CSCC would be traumatized. During that time, Wang Lan called her almost every day to comfort her. He even teleported in the middle of the night to comfort her. Under Wang Lan's unremitting efforts, CSCC had completely let go of the knot in her heart. She was even more intimate with Jiang Xinyu than before. After a day of shopping, Takashi Hoshi definitely wouldn't be tired. At night, the 7 of them exchanged glasses at the internet-trending revolving restaurant in the center of Sioux City. I'll make it clear today. 1 bottle per person. No one can take it back to raise fish. If someone else said this, I would have to think twice. But Lanzi, why do I feel like you're joking when you say this? Lanzi, have you forgotten that you can get drunk after drinking 1 glass? Xiangwen, what are you blabbering about? Since Lanzi dares to say this, let's just accept it. Anyway, with Xinyu here, he'll find his way home. Come, Lanzi, let's have a toast. After 3 rounds of drinks and 5 dishes, Su Xiangwen smacked his lips. Lanzi, does your school have an organization to participate in the International Security Committee selection exam? Yes, why are you asking? I heard that the last exam is a team exam. I want to ask if there's anyone reliable in your school who can introduce me to a team in advance. You know how good Cici and I are. I promise we won't drag you down. Both of you are participating. Jiang Xinyu looked at CSCC and Su Xiangwen in surprise. Yes, all the top universities in the country have received invitations. It seems that the International Security Committee's recruitment this time is to deal with the increasingly serious global situation. That's good. There are 2 reliable team members. Wang Lan held his wine glass and said thoughtfully, they're at the table. You? Xinyu? Su Xiangwen held his wine glass in midair and asked, you're not drunk. You're quite quick-witted. Wait, both of you are participating as well? Are you kidding me? Su Xiangwen's eyes widened in surprise. With both of your abilities, do you even need to participate in the selection? If your name is revealed, you can be our instructor directly. That's different. No matter how great your achievements are in Jade State, you may not be recognized internationally. Even if you are recognized internationally, you still have to do what you have to do. Lanzi, I have nothing to say. Come, let's have a toast. If both of you are participating, then I have nothing to worry about. This is a win-win. CSCC also picked up her wine glass and clinked it with Wang Lan's. The 5 of us are going to adventure together again. Everyone turned their heads and looked at Gong Feiyu, who slowly put down his wine glass. Gong Feiyu forced a smile on his face and shook his head silently. I'm not participating. Why? It's such a good opportunity. With Lan Zi and Sinyu's protection, you can pass it with your eyes closed. No, I've already planned my future. I'm going to mingle in the military system. You guys go ahead. I wish you all the best. Cheers. The atmosphere became lively again. Everyone had smiles on their faces and joked with each other. It was so harmonious. However, Wang Lan secretly noticed that Gong Feiyu drank a little too much in the second half. 1 glass after another. It was late at night, and the guests gradually dispersed. Su Xiangwen and Gong Feiyu's girlfriends did not drink, so they were responsible for driving their men home. Wang Lan originally planned to walk back himself, but Jiang Xinyu still pulled Wang Lan into the car. CSCC also drank a few glasses, but this woman's alcohol tolerance was probably the highest among the five of them. Cece was arranged to sit in the back seat. They would send her home first. Did you notice? Jiang Xinyu suddenly asked in a low voice after fastening her seatbelt. What? Something's wrong with Gong Feiyu. He's deliberately distancing himself from us. I can tell, but there's nothing we can do about it. We've never looked down on them, but he's underestimating himself. In our hearts, he'll always be a good brother. I don't know what's wrong with Gong Feiyu. Why is he still at the peak of Nebula? Does Zhezhou Sibu Gakuen not have any resources? That can't be right. Jinshi Sibu Gakuen is not as good as it. It's a personal problem. Wang Lan shook his head slightly. Xiang Wen is a Takeshi Hoshi with the Yang attribute and has the heavenly eye talent skill. As for Cece, she has extraordinary control of astral power and is extremely talented in combat. They all have their own characteristics and are extremely talented. But what does Feiyu have? Among the many Takeshi Hoshi, Feiyu is indeed outstanding. However, after getting used to seeing talented geniuses, Feiyu's talent seems very mediocre. He's under a lot of pressure when he's with us. On the other side, Gong Feiyu sat in the front passenger seat. His girlfriend did not start the car immediately. Instead, she turned her head and looked at Gong Feiyu silently. Just now, Wang Lan asked you to participate in the International Security Committee selection test. Why did you refuse? You should know that passing the test will only bring you benefits and no harm. Participate? What ability do I have to participate? I'm the one who's in Nebula. The International Security Committee selection test has an 80% elimination rate, even for peak galaxy-grade cultivators. But you have Wang Lan and the others. Rely on them to cheat? Yes, I can rely on them to cheat, and they definitely won't look down on me. However, I'll look down on myself. Gong Feiyu suddenly turned sideways and stared at his girlfriend's exquisite makeup with bloodshot eyes. Su Xiangwen, a brother who used to be on par with me, is now at the late-stage galaxy grade. CSCC, my class monitor in high school, used to be able to defeat her with one finger, but now she can defeat me with one finger. Jiang Xinyu, Wang Lan, used to be my best friends. They're already standing at the top of the world, while I, a former friend, am so mediocre that I can't even make a splash in the crowd. What do you think the world will think of me? I didn't want to. I also wanted to gallop around the world with them. But why am I such a good-for-nothing? Why? Chapter 564. Seeing Gong Feiyu crying, the girl felt sorry for him. She did not say anything about how her uncle hoped that Gong Feiyu could participate in the International Security Committee's assessment. In fact, when it came to family background, Gong Feiyu's family was a far cry from hers. Although the girl's family was not an ancient Takeshi Hoshi family, it was a modern military family. If the girl had not been determined to be with Gong Feiyu, her family would not have supported them being together. The girl did not ask for anything else. If Gong Feiyu could be more outstanding, she would not have to bear so much pressure. At the dinner table, the girl heard that Wang Lan invited Gong Feiyu to participate. She was full of expectations. However, she did not expect. The New Year's holiday passed quickly. After that, the International Security Committee selection exam would begin. CSCC and Su Xiangwen took the train to Jin City on the last day of the holiday. After seeing them off, Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu drove back to Shanghai. January 6th, sunny. Shanghai Airport. A group of young men and women wearing Shanghai Sibu Gakuen uniforms formed a beautiful scenery at the airport. Many tourists stopped to watch, and many foreigners raised their cameras to capture this rare moment. In this world, the powerful Takeshi Hoshi were fully deserving of the title of superstar. Shanghai Sibu Gakuen was the cradle of superstars. 20 students carried their suitcases and set off together. They were either going abroad for support or to participate in international activities. Because the International Security Committee's assessment location was at a military base in the Amazon, Wang Lan and his group took a private plane to go there. After flying for more than 10 hours, the small plane landed at an open-air airport. The airport elevator was lowered, and Wang Lan followed the crowd to get off the plane. In an instant, Wang Lan felt people looking at him from all directions. The International Security Committee's recruitment exam involved more than 200 countries around the world. However, most of the countries focused on participation. They mainly wanted to see the performance of the 5 permanent countries. It was not that there was any inside story about the exam, but that the International Security Committee's exam was difficult. Only the top geniuses of the 5 great countries could do it. It wasn't that there weren't any geniuses in small countries, but it was hard to find even one in a few years. Naturally, as a student of Shanghai Sibu Gakuen, one of the top 4 universities in the Jade State, he was the focus of attention. Shanghai Sibu Gakuen was neither too early nor too late. When Wang Lan and the others landed, there were already dozens of planes parked at the airport. They arrived around the same time as Wang Lan and the others. In the sky, there were also other planes circling. After Wang Lan and the others came down, the examiner threw some tents and other things to them, then turned and left without saying a word. Looking at the tents that had already been set up on the lawn in the distance, it wasn't hard to guess the other party's intentions. Don't tell me they're not even going to prepare a dormitory for us and are just going to let us live in tents? A girl asked in surprise. It wasn't that this girl was spoiled since childhood. After all, she had been to a real battlefield in her 4th year of university. She had also stayed in a harsh environment. However, it was a little unexpected that they would arrange tents for the contestants for such a high-level exam. What's the point of saying so much? I'm afraid that they're not going to have 1 tent per person. It's not a big deal. I don't think it's necessary to set up a tree house. Isn't it better to live in a big villa? Don't. It's better to keep a low profile. Everyone, just set up tents. I don't think it's that simple. Can you think of something that others can't? Everyone took the tents apart, and simple tents were quickly set up one by one. The tents were typical triangular tents. They had a large capacity and enough space. After Wang Lan and the others set up their tents, the planes of Jinsher Sibu Gakuen and Zhezhou Sibu Gakuen also landed. Wang Lan's team of 4 met up again. However, they were a little disappointed when they saw that Gong Feiyu was not among the candidates from Zhezhou Sibu Gakuen. The sun set in the west. The moment the last ray of sunlight disappeared from the horizon, a person wearing a camouflage uniform and looking like an instructor appeared in the middle of the room with a loudspeaker. Now, the airport is closed and the examination hall is closed. All the candidates for the exam are ready. Those who are late will be disqualified. While the instructor was speaking, Wang Lan looked up and saw that there were planes hovering in the sky. Perhaps they had been notified, so they turned around and left in a dejected manner. All examinees, please take note. The first round of the examination will officially begin tomorrow. Tonight, all of you will have to make do in your tents. Also, this is a special area formed by the explosion of a fragment from an alternate dimension. It has already been assimilated into our world, but the strange weather, changeable climate, and geographical environment that cannot be understood by science still have the characteristics of an alternate dimension. I hope all of you can have a good dream tonight. At night, CSCC and Jiang Xinyu shared a tent, while Wang Lan and Su Xiangwen put their tents together. Some students from Shanghai Sibu Gakuen who were paying attention to Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu looked sad. After knowing that the 2 of them were also taking part in the exam, many students from Shanghai Sibu Gakuen were tempted. The first 2 exams were based on individual performance. As long as one's strength was not too much of a burden, it would not be difficult to advance. Only the last team exam was the real, cruel elimination exam. However, as long as one could form a team with Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu, they would win without doing anything. It would be best if they could separate the 2 of them and each lead a team. The students from Shanghai Sibu Gakuen had long wanted to take advantage of the 2 of them. However, when the 2 of them were despised by others, they would show off their affection in the school. Sometimes, they would deliberately hide and be forced to take advantage of. When everyone wanted to cozy up to them, they would be gone. When they saw them again, it was already the day before their departure. On the plane, they invited Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu. Even the teacher in charge of the team came to talk about it. However, Wang Lan said that they had already formed a team. This hurt the group of people who had high hopes. They were even discussing who was secretly behind their backs. Now that they had seen it, they felt even worse. Why was it that they were not from their own school, but from Cebu Gakuen? However, no matter what, it was Wang Lan's freedom whether he was willing to take them or not. As the night gradually deepened, the group of examinees gradually entered their dreams. But all of a sudden, Wang Lan's eyes slowly opened. He patted the tent next door. Su Xiangwen had already woken up. At this moment, Su Xiangwen's third eye was emitting a bright light. Xiangwen, what's the situation? There are Takashi Hoshi watching us. In the distance, there are a large number of artillery soldiers setting up a position. Looking at this situation, it seems like they want to destroy us all. Is this part of the exam, or? Jiang Sinyu's voice suddenly sounded. Speculation is part of the exam. However, the instructor didn't say anything in advance. We can take it as a real enemy attack. Wang Lan stroked his chin and suddenly revealed a mischievous smile. Why don't we make the first move? Will the chief examiner be angry and disqualify us? They're still setting up. They are 7 kilometers away and estimated to launch a surprise attack in half an hour at the earliest. We know that there are enemies trying to sneak into the camp. There should be no problem with a counterattack, right? CSCC said excitedly. Then call all the examinees. If they want to be eliminated, they will be eliminated together. Beep! A sharp whistle suddenly sounded. The camp was instantly alarmed by this whistle. Then, Wang Lan's standard English pronunciation sounded. 7 kilometers to the northeast of us, there's a mysterious army setting up artillery positions. Our camp is under their fire. I suspect that they are an anti-human armed force. Rather than waiting for death, we should take the initiative to attack. What? They can sense it from 7 kilometers away. Isn't the maximum sensing range for Takashi Hoshi internationally 5 kilometers? Don't forget that we are the top geniuses of various academies. Any country is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. It is not difficult to accept that we can sense something from 7 kilometers away. But what if the opponent is testing us? Everyone, we have 500 people here. 500 people against an artillery army of less than 1,000 people. If we can't guarantee 0 casualties, then we should obediently withdraw. It is too embarrassing. That makes sense. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. With such a difference in strength, there is no need for any cooperation or tactics. The enemy had 1,000 people, while their side had 500. The average strength of the 500 people was at the peak of Nebula. This was because the contestants from the other small countries were too weak. In reality, there were at least 150 people above the galaxy realm. Why would such a lineup need any tactics? They could just be rash. Wang Lan didn't even need to make a move. Looking at the black mass of contestants surging over, Wang Lan and the others only needed to pay close attention to the situation. In the International Security Committee Assessment Headquarters, the movements of the contestants were naturally sent over immediately. What's going on? Why did the contestants suddenly become alarmed? There should be a Takashi Hoshi with extraordinary senses among the contestants. They must have sensed that we are setting up the artillery position. Are you kidding? The artillery position is 7 kilometers away. A Takashi Hoshi with senses can sense as far as 5 kilometers away. Moreover, the artillery position is full of ordinary people. Have you ever seen a Takashi Hoshi with senses that can sense ordinary people? Maybe this perception class is more special. What should we do? Originally, a bombardment could eliminate at least half of the contestants, but now it can't eliminate a single one. Instead, our artillery position is going to be wiped out. It's okay. This is just an entrance exam. It's not an official exam. It's not a big problem for them to all pass. Su Xiangwen stared with his heavenly eye and clicked his tongue continuously. Too tragic, too spectacular. An artillery regiment is being beaten up by a group of Takashi Hoshi. Too tragic. Isn't there a Takashi Hoshi hiding in the dark? Why didn't they make a move? There are only 100 Takashi Hoshi. Faced with the ferocious might of that group of animals, How would they dare to show their faces? After knowing that their surprise attack plan was exposed, they immediately retreated from the depths of the ground. However, that group of animals still knows how to control themselves. Although the artillery platform is destroyed and the people are beaten black and blue, it's all superficial injuries. The helicopter is here. The chief examiner should be in charge of the aftermath. Okay then, let's go to sleep. After knowing that the situation was settled, Wang Lan continued to lie down and sleep. Using Buddhist techniques to seal one's five senses, one could enter a state of sleep almost instantly. Even such a big commotion from the contestants returning to camp didn't wake up the snoring Wang Lan. Chapter 565. Early the next morning, the candidates woke up one after another amidst a series of whistles. Assemble. You only have 10 seconds. If you don't assemble within 10 seconds, you'll all be eliminated. Now it's 7 seconds, 6 seconds. If it was an ordinary soldier, or even the most elite soldier, it would be impossible to assemble in 10 seconds. However, it was not particularly difficult for a Star Warrior. When living in a tent, no one would take off their clothes and sleep in their pajamas. Basically, after waking up, they could just put on a jacket and go out. With the speed of Takashi Hoshi, almost in the instant the examiner finished speaking, the open space in front of the examiner was already filled with students. Time's up. Those who haven't arrived at the assembly site will all be eliminated. Wang Lan looked over. There were only a few candidates who hadn't arrived in time, and they were all girls. Students from the higher Cebu Gakuen from all over the world. Welcome to the Takashi Hoshi Organization of the United Nations, the International Security Committee Selection Examination Site. I'm the head examiner, Colonel Ryan. Originally, I was going to give you a welcome gift last night. Unfortunately, my gift was taken away by you before I could prepare it. I'm very sorry, and I'm sure you're feeling very sorry too. Hearing this, the candidates present couldn't help but smile. Gift? If we really let you give us a gift, who knows how many people we'd have to eliminate. We'd have to be humiliated by you. I'm sure you're very grateful to the Takashi Hoshi who reminded you, because if it wasn't for him, who knows how many of you would have been eliminated last night. Then I'd like to congratulate all of you on getting the tickets to participate in the International Security Committee's selection examination. But let me remind you, our passing rate is based on the number of people. No matter how many rounds you can pass, no matter how many people are left in the end, the number of people we'll accept will only be small. So, the guy who reminded us last night, if you didn't remind us last night and let most of the candidates be eliminated, you might have already passed the examination. All right, let's not talk nonsense. Now, everyone come over here to receive your bracelets. The first round of examination for you is about to begin. The group of examinees lined up and went to the other side to collect their bracelets. The bracelet was like an electronic watch. When it was opened, there was an arrow that looked like a mouse on it. The background was a grid, and there was nothing else. His initial judgment of the bracelet was that it was a positioning bracelet. I think many examinees have already done their homework before coming here. It's a pity that the content of every exam is not similar. However, the meticulous examinees should have noticed a pattern. Our exam arrangements are very simple, as if I believe you. The rules are very simple. The examiner smiled and said, "The arrow on each of your bracelets represents your current location. After the test begins, your bracelets will show a place to punch in. All you need to do is to go to the place to punch in your bracelets and punch in your bracelets. The assessment time is 24 hours. Within 24 hours, you need to swipe your card at all checkpoints." Reporting. Speak. How many checkpoints are there in total? I don't know. As long as there is a red dot on your watch, you will continue to clock in. All right, you are not allowed to damage your card machine during the process, whether it is intentional or not. If your card machine is damaged, you will be disqualified. Reporting. What dangers will there be during the process of clocking in? I don't believe the content of the exam is so simple. Do you want me to send you to the end and announce that you have passed the exam? All right, since no one has any questions, the exam will begin. The moment the examiner finished speaking, everyone looked down at their bracelets. Indeed, A red dot appeared on each of their bracelets. Wang Lan glanced at Jiang Sinyu's bracelet. Her red dot appeared in different locations. Obviously, this was a solo exam, and everyone's first checkpoint was different. What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear me say that the clocking in has begun? The examinees instantly scattered and ran to their respective checkpoints. Among them, a dozen Takashi Hoshi instantly flew into the air. However, in less than a second, these Takashi Hoshi's bracelets announced the end of the exam. I object. The examinees who had been announced as the end of the exam were furious. You didn't remind us that we can't fly. You can't just announce that we have failed. The right to explain is in our hands. Sure enough, many examinees wanted to fly, but in the end, they chose to run away obediently. Pay attention to yourselves. You can only rely on yourselves in the first round of the exam. Got it. Su Xiangwen and CSCC replied together. Wang Lan's words were directed at them. As for Jiang Xinyu, it was impossible for her to fail the exam with her strength at the Starseed state. After Wang Lan finished speaking, he soared into the sky with a whoosh. He drew a beautiful trajectory in the air and disappeared in an instant. I object. Suddenly, another examinee who had just been eliminated shouted angrily. What do you have to object? Why can he fly, but we can't? You are cheating in public just because he is an examinee from Jade State? Who told you that you were eliminated because you can fly? Idiot! The examiner raised the loudspeaker and shouted into the examinee's ears. You were eliminated because you were locked on by the optical sights, idiot. As he spoke, he pointed at the optical sights that were protruding out of the ground around the base. If this happened on the battlefield, you would be dead by now. Why are you still protesting? The examinees who had been eliminated looked at the optical sights around them and sighed in unison. They had not noticed that they had been locked on, so they had nothing to say about being eliminated. The red on the bracelet didn't seem to be far away, but in fact, it was dozens of kilometers away. Every time they got closer to the red dot, the dimension of the bracelet would change. Along the way, Wang Lan was almost reckless. Of course, there were rules in this kind of exam. Even if he was reckless, he could not be reckless beyond the rules. For example, Wang Lan had to avoid the optical sights. This was because no matter how strong Wang Lan was, as long as he was locked on, it would be considered a GG. Fortunately, Wang Lan's innate spiritual sense had been developed, so he had a strong premonition of being locked on. 10 minutes later, Wang Lan successfully arrived at the first checkpoint. It was a golden desert, and an isolated phone booth was inserted in the middle of the desert. The examiner did not lie. The environment and climate of this place were indeed very strange. 40 kilometers away, it was still a barren mountain and stone forest, but 10 kilometers away, it was indeed a golden desert. The continuous sand dunes were like the Gobi Desert outside of Dunhuang. Wang Lan descended from the sky and walked step by step toward the checkpoint. Suddenly, under the ground in the desert, a dense cluster of cannons appeared. The moment the cannons appeared, they locked onto Wang Lan within 0.1 seconds. Bullets poured toward Wang Lan at a speed of 10 per second. Wang Lan's figure instantly exploded, turning into a graceful butterfly. When Wang Lan's figure appeared again, he was already beside the phone booth. The cannons lost their target and once again sank into the desert and disappeared. The purpose of this assessment was very clear. It was the ability to attack within 100 meters. With the sound of successful checkpoint, Wang Lan's assessment was completed perfectly. The first successful checkpoint has been received. What? He completed the first checkpoint in 10 minutes? In the examination command room, a lieutenant general asked in surprise. Indeed. Do you want to send the information over? Okay. After seeing Wang Lan's information, the lieutenant general chief examiner sprang up as if his but had been pricked by a needle. Wang Lan. Damn, it's him. When he looked at Wang Lan's information, the respect on his face was more than shock. Yes, Wang Lan was an existence that even the 7th-level agents of the International Security Committee had to respect. This was because Wang Lan's achievements were too brilliant. Although he was only active in the Jade State, he had not only saved the Jade State, but the whole world, and more than once. He was a major general of the Jade State, a powerful man with a title in the Jade State, and one of the top combat forces in the Jade State. Even among the ninth-level agents of the International Security Committee, there were less than 20 who could defeat Wang Lan. These 20 people did not just belong to the International Security Committee. They were just nominal members of the International Security Committee. How did the college entrance examination attract such a powerful person? The higher-ups did not even let out a sound. When the chief examiner exclaimed, many examiners began to look up Wang Lan's information. Soon, there was a sound of gasps. Chief examiner, isn't this breaking the balance? Why don't we call Wang Lan back and let him pass? No, since he is participating in the examination as a candidate, no matter what his identity is, there is only one identity here, and that is a candidate. We must treat him equally. Yes, sir. But is there a need to file his record? Is there a problem with that? Of course there is. The purpose of this examination is not only to test the candidates, but also to test the combat effectiveness of our weapon system. However, according to Wang Lan standards, none of the weapons developed by the military factories of the various countries passed. This is not to provide them with suggestions for improvement, but to give them despair. The final battle between humans and demons will ultimately depend on the power of technology. If they tell me that their weapons can only eliminate the demons, then the future of the human race will be over. If they can't even deal with the powerful humans, how are they going to deal with the powerful demons? Not only must Wang Lan's data be filed, but you must also report to me. Tell them that their weapons are still trash. Yes, sir. Hey, another candidate has finished punching in, only 3 minutes slower than Wang Lan. Oh? Let me guess, it must be Wang Lan's girlfriend, Jiang Xinyu. No, it's a candidate from the nation of God. Her name is Yulia. Where did this person come from? After punching in once, Wang Lan immediately went to the next punching point. After landing, the ground suddenly split open, and a slender humanoid robot that was more than 3 meters tall emerged. Candidate, you can only obtain the punching machine in my body if you defeat me. Wang Lan raised her head and stared at the robot. A smile immediately appeared on her face. Black technology? Interesting. I didn't expect this to be a two-way examination. Chapter 566. Because of the danger of demons hanging above their heads, the cutting-edge technology of this world was first used for cutting-edge weapon research. Unlike in his previous life, technology was not used for civilian use. In his previous life, many high-tech weapons could not be mass-produced because they were too expensive, so they could only choose cheaper ones that could be mass-produced. But in this world, he would use the best if he could, and use even better if he could. Although the difference in basic technology did not seem to be big, the variety and quantity of advanced technology was definitely much greater than in his previous life. Take the 3-meter-tall robot in front of him, for example. It definitely used 5G transmission technology, but until now, Wang Lan did not seem to have heard of the concept of 5G. In his previous life, 5G was only developed after the concept became widespread. However, in this world, 5G had already appeared, but he had not heard of the concept. 5G was definitely an epoch-making significance for intelligence. From the perspective of biological evolution, why did chordates stand out in terms of speed? It was because of their nerve transmission speed of 100 meters per second. If the nerve transmission speed was not fast enough, the bigger the body, the clumsier the movements. It was the same in the field of robots. If the data transmission speed was not fast enough, the slower the robot's movements, the clumsier and slower the robot's movements. However, the 3-meter-tall humanoid robot in front of him was unimaginably fast, whether it was movement speed or aiming speed. Of course, this speed was definitely not as fast as Wang Lan's, who had already reached the peak of Takashi Hoshi. If the data of the robot in front of him was categorized, its agility was comparable to Takashi Hoshi in the early stages of star blazing. Its defense was comparable to a peak Nebula Takashi Hoshi, and its firepower output was definitely at the peak of the Starseed realm. If this thing could be mass-produced, It could completely replace the Galaxy Realm Takashi Hoshi army if the tactics and battlefield were correct and even stronger. After roughly testing the robot's various combat data, Wang Lan was not in the mood to continue playing. His figure flashed, and before the robot could react, he punched it in the chest. The robot obviously did not want to sit still and wait for death. It instantly raised an electromagnetic barrier. However, under Wang Lan's fist, the electromagnetic barrier did not even last a second before it was shattered. Boom! The robot's breastplate shattered with an ear-piercing crack, revealing the card punch machine flashing with a signal inside. Wang Lan brought his watch over and successfully punched in. It seems that General Wang Lan knows our intentions. Normally, Andrew wouldn't be able to withstand a light blow from General Wang Lan. However, General Wang Lan still completed a very comprehensive test for us. Indeed, the test results are quite satisfactory. The purpose of the humanoid robot is its high mobility and all-terrain and all-weather combat ability. It can also replace the Takashi Hoshi and prevent the Takashi Hoshi from making more unnecessary sacrifices. From the looks of it, Andrew seemed to have met the requirements, but at the same time, there were still problems with his agility. His defense could also be strengthened, but the auto-lock speed was too slow. He might be able to deal with ordinary demons, but against the elite demons, he might be killed before he could even aim properly. I'll remember it. Wang Lan wasted some time on the robot, but not much. Soon, Wang Lan's punching speed was far ahead again. The one called Yulia in second place followed closely behind, and then it was the fierce competition for 3rd to 30th place. There were no mediocre people who could participate in this test. Every candidate was a superstar genius in their original school. Even though Jiang Xinyu was so outstanding, she was still one of the 30 in this competition. Although Jiang Xinyu was now ranked 6th, the gap between the 30 was very small. Perhaps with a burst of strength, the 30th place could instantly jump to 3rd place. Only the gap between 1st and 2nd place was like a chasm that was constantly widening. Wang Lan once again arrived at the punching area. 5 Takashi Hoshi appeared in front of Wang Lan. Their all-star Sea Realm? I say, is this test so difficult? Who can withstand this? This is a special test that we specially prepared for you. No, there's special treatment? Isn't this unfair? General Wang Lan is a titled expert of a Jade State. Is it unfair to care about this? It's unfair for you to participate in the test with them. Okay then, come on. Wait, the 5 of them stopped Wang Lan. Let's change our equipment first. General Wang, do you want to watch us change? Okay. Wang Lan suspiciously followed them into the cave. The 5 Takashi Hoshi took off their clothes, revealing the tight suits that were completely clinging to their bodies. Then, they came to an apparatus. This scene was a bit familiar. Isn't this the preparation room after entering the alternate space and changing into the alternate space's combat suit? However, due to the explosive increase in strength, the so-called protective suit could no longer protect Wang Lan. After the first time, he had never worn it again. Soon, the 5-star Sea Realm Takashi Hoshi began to change. As they changed, Wang Lan's eyes became brighter and brighter, and his expression became more and more solemn. General Wang Lan, how is it? After changing, the 5 came to Wang Lan and asked, is the developer of your Iron Man armor a guy named Tony Stark? Huh? Tony Stark? I don't know, but this isn't steel armor. It's called an exoskeleton mecha. It's a mother-child mecha that was developed at the same time as the robot Andrew. The Andrew Legion's combat mecha we're wearing is the Takashi Hoshi's special model. It's powered by a super battery and a soul orb, which enhances the Takashi Hoshi's defense and assists the Takashi Hoshi in battle. I see. Then let's give it a try. With that, Wang Lan turned around and left the cave. The 5 Takashi Hoshi in armor followed him out. Takashi Hoshi's Takashi Hoshi skills were released from within their bodies and weren't blocked. Even if they spat out water jets and flames from their mouths, they weren't actually spitting out from their mouths. It was just that there was a bridge in the mouth which was located on the roof of the mouth, which made it more convenient to release Takashi Hoshi skills. A Takashi Hoshi in a mecha had no restrictions on releasing Takashi Hoshi skills, but the mecha gave a Takashi Hoshi a huge boost. The five in front of him could not only lock onto Wang Lan's movements, analyze Wang Lan's attack direction, and formulate tactics. They could also increase a Takashi Hoshi's strength, defense, and speed. What was even rarer was that this was a mecha that truly combined human technological weapons and Takashi Hoshi skills. There were miniature weapons hidden on the mecha's arms and back, beam sabers on its legs, and energy cannons on its waist. This kind of increase in strength could be felt very strongly. Originally, 5-star Sea Realm cultivators wouldn't be Wang Lan's match, but now they could actually make Wang Lan unable to detect their shortcomings, and their cooperation was impeccable. But in the end, the 5-star Sea Realm Takashi Hoshi were quickly defeated by Wang Lan's absolute strength. I have to say, this is the most outstanding technological weapon I've ever seen. If it can be used in an alternate dimension, it'll definitely be a divine weapon that can turn the scales of humanity. I didn't expect General Wang Lan to give it such a high evaluation. The chief examiner's voice rang out from the public speakers. Of course, miniature mecha are undoubtedly helpful to Takashi Hoshi, but if it can't be used in an alternate dimension, the mecha can only be a burden. If our war with the demons is fought under the laws of our world, it's enough to show that the demons have succeeded in establishing a foothold in our world and have begun to expand. For us, Takashi Hoshi, the strategic goal is to keep the demons outside the laws. General Wang is right. In fact, we've been doing research in this area and have already seen the light. As long as we break through this technological bottleneck, our human weapons can be used in alternate dimensions and even in the demon realm. Although the ideal is good, how long will it take to break through the bottleneck? This is within the scope of the laws of the world. No, this is not within the scope of the laws of the world. To be precise, the laws of the Milky Way have been changed, and after years of research, we found that the laws of the Milky Way are being corrected. Wang Lan's expression changed. He suddenly recalled a piece of information he had obtained from a demon spy. The suppression of the laws of the human world on them was weakening. If it was because the laws of the Milky Way were being corrected, then the denial of human technological weapons in the alternate dimension was also slowly being corrected. It seems that humans will face a great challenge in the next war. Humans have never been afraid of challenges. It was so in the past, and it is still so now. Wang Lan wanted to continue chatting with them, but soon another student came nearby. Apparently, he had come a punch in. Wang Lan suddenly realized that he had wasted too much time chatting with him this time. After swiping his card on the punching machine handed over by the other party, Wang Lan immediately left for the next punching location. He did not expect that the next punching location would not be a challenge, but a rest camp. When he arrived at the camp, a blonde girl in a white dress was sitting on the lawn of the camp, looking up at the sky. Looking at the side of the girl's face, Wang Lan felt a kind of breathtaking beauty. The girl seemed to feel Wang Lan's gaze and turned to look at Wang Lan. Sure enough, her beauty was earth-shattering. After Princess Cha Shi, this was the second woman to make Wang Lan feel that beauty was justice. Unlike Cha Shi's foxy charm, this woman's face emitted a sacred radiance. The woman seemed to be used to the gaze of the opposite sex. She only nodded slightly at Wang Lan, then turned her head and continued to look into the distance. After entering the camp, the examiner stepped forward and punched in Wang Lan's wristband, then took away Wang Lan's wristband. Congratulations, you are the second person to complete the first round of the examination. Wang Lan smiled. If he had not wasted so much time in the last round, he would definitely have been the first. Wang Lan and the woman were in the first echelon. After the two of them arrived, the third examinee did not return for a long time. After about 2 hours, the third examinee returned. It was an examinee from the White Eagle country. His strength should be at the peak of the Starsea realm. His arrival seemed to announce the arrival of the second batch of examinees. Soon, he saw Jiang Sinyu's figure in the crowd. Wang Lan hurriedly went forward to check on her. Fortunately, Jiang Sinyu was not injured. She just looked a little tired. This was a competition between the top Takashi Hoshi and the top human technology. Of course, there was also a competition between the top Takashi Hoshi and the top Takashi Hoshi. The examination was easy for Wang Lan, but it was not easy for the other examinees. The most important thing was time. This examination would eliminate 400 people. Only the top 100 would advance to the next round. Everyone was an elite, so they could only fight for the top 100 spots. Wang Lan was not really worried about Jiang Xinyu. He was really worried about CSCC and Su Xiangwen. The strength of a peak star river realm was not outstanding among this group of examinees. Chapter 567. Fortunately, CSCC drove Su Xiangwen to the assembly point just as the 100 people were about to reach the assembly point. Among the examinees who rushed over, many of them were injured like Su Xiangwen. Wang Lan quickly went up to them and brought Su Xiangwen to the side, giving him a holy halo. Within a few seconds, Su Xiangwen was resurrected in full health. Wang Lan patted Su Xiangwen's shoulder and looked at CSCC. "How are you?" "I'm fine, just a little embarrassed." "Lan Zi, this assessment is really crazy. We had to go through a minefield and face a hail of bullets. Moreover, all of them were heavy weapons made of advanced technology. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I would have been blown to pieces. Actually, you wouldn't have died even if you had been blown up. At most, you would have been eliminated. Your injuries weren't from heavy weapons. I was unlucky." The third checkpoint was the Takashi Hoshi in mechas. You've experienced it yourself. 5 battle-hardened agents at the peak of the Nebula realm in mechas. Their abilities were at least at the Galaxy realm. Furthermore, it was 5 against 1. I was careless and my leg was injured. If my leg wasn't injured, I wouldn't have been dragged down by the last few checkpoints. Then, I met Cece at the last checkpoint. She had already finished her checkpoint. If she hadn't helped me, she would have gotten a better result. The ranking of this assessment doesn't matter. There's only passing and being eliminated. Beep! As soon as Wang Lan finished speaking, the whistle at the assembly point sounded. Wang Lan and the others hurried over to assemble. All 100 candidates have arrived. Those who arrive later will be eliminated, the examiner announced loudly without any emotion. At this moment, more than 10 candidates were rushing to the assembly point. When they heard the announcement, they stopped in their tracks. "That's not fair." A candidate took off his bracelet angrily and threw it on the ground. "You clearly said that the assessment was to complete all checkpoints and that the duration of the assessment was 24 hours. Since when was there a condition that only the first 100 candidates would be accepted? We finished all the check-in time and only used 7 hours, not even a third of the time limit. Why should we be eliminated?" "Why? Based on the fact that I am the examiner, based on the fact that I have the right to make the final decision, are you satisfied with this reason?" Faced with the stern faces of the examiners, he could only swallow his unwillingness. Proud sons of the heavens had always been arrogant, but it depended on where they were. The International Security Committee is the most advanced combat organization of Takashi Hoshi in the world. The world's top experts you can name are either agents of the International Security Committee or former agents of the International Security Committee. Behave atrociously here. Even if the examiner in front of them was just a fox pretending to be a tiger, the examinees still wouldn't dare to do so. Those who were eliminated were, of course, those who were clearly arranged to be picked up by a special car and sent to a hotel in a nearby city to be provided with good food and drinks. Then, after paying the bill in their own country, they would be picked up and brought back. I've said it before. Changing our plans won't do you any good, because we are the ones who make the rules. You have successfully avoided the welcome ceremony, but we only need one more exam to limit the number of people left to 100. The instructor mocked the 100 people who had gathered. Wang Lan could clearly feel that many of the examinees had silently clenched their fists. These students were all at the Galaxy grade, and any one of them could beat the examiner in front of them into a pig's head. All right, I won't say any more nonsense. The second exam will be held tomorrow. After a while, there will be a car to pick you up and take you to the barracks to rest. Dismiss now. After dismissing, Wang Lan's group of 4 gathered again. Looking at the examinees gathered in 2s and 3s, they instantly felt a lot more deserted. More than 400 out of 500 examinees have been eliminated in one go. It was very cruel. Wang Lan, even with your status, you can't find out what the second exam is about. Su Xiangwen asked worriedly. Wang Lan shook his head. The questions for the International Security Committee's recruitment exam are different every time, and the level of confidentiality is comparable to the college entrance exam. Let alone us, even the examiners don't know. Sigh. I originally thought that with you guys around, this exam would be a victory. In the end, we almost failed in the first round. I heard that each of the 3 exams is more difficult than the last. The first round already has such a high elimination rate. I don't know how perverse the second round will be. Maybe Cece and I will also fail in the second round. Keep your mind balanced and do your best. Wang Lan did not know how to comfort them. If the second round was still an individual competition, there was really no way he could help them. Soon, the bus that picked them up arrived. 3 buses filled with examinees arrived at the new barracks. Then, 2 people were assigned dormitories. Wang Lan and Su Xiangwen, Cece and Jiang Xinyu. The next morning, the examiners organized a warm-up run. After that, the 100 examinees were sent to the barracks training ground. At this moment, Wang Lan saw a group of people coming in from the opposite side of the training ground. They also looked like examinees, and there were all sorts of races among them. Are they examinees too? That's not right. We have 100 people here. The content of the second round is more or less clear. It should be a combat assessment. But where did they find them? I understand. Soon, most of them understood. Who said that there were only 500 examinees in this selection? Actually, there are 1,000 people. They were just sent to different venues to be eliminated. At 8 o'clock sharp, a group of examiners appeared at the side of the training ground. An examiner wearing sunglasses and camouflage clothes gently rubbed his ears and picked up a loudspeaker to test the sound. Hey, geniuses from all over the world. Welcome to the International Security Committee Selection Assessment. The second round of the selection is about to begin. I think many of the examinees have already guessed the content of this assessment. That's right, this assessment is a combat assessment. Originally, this assessment was not needed because we only need 100 examinees to participate in the third round, which is the assessment with the highest score. However, there are too many examinees this time, a total of 1,000 examinees. We have to split the assessment into 2 venues. Therefore, the examinees from the first and second venues met here. The rules of the assessment are very simple. The examinees from both sides will be randomly assigned numbers from 1 to 100. I will draw a number at random. Those with the same number will fight on the field. The winner will directly advance to the next round. Isn't that simple? Then, let's let the examiners from both sides issue the numbers. Examinees from both sides, please fight seriously because your victory or defeat is related to our bet. The examinees from both sides quickly began to draw numbers. In the 4-person group, Wang Lan's number was the highest. He was number 17. Jiang Xinyu was number 23. Cece was number 36. Su Xiangwen was number 88. The assessment will begin now. Normally, I should be the one to draw the number. However, I'm a bit lazy, so I won't draw. Let's start with number 1. The first contestants from both sides went up. Coincidentally, both of them were black. However, one of them was from South Africa, and the other was from White Eagle. Perhaps it was because they were exceptionally excited to meet an old friend in a foreign land, but the 2 of them fought very fiercely. They were almost using the same fighting style that they used against demons, where they couldn't wait to kill each other. This set an example for the rest of the examinees. If they wanted to pass the assessment, they had to be so ruthless. The stronger one was the longer they fought. Instead, it was directly proportional to the difference in strength between the 2 parties. Both of them were at the mid-stage of the galaxy state, and their fighting styles were extremely similar. Therefore, it took almost half an hour for the battle to end. Both of them were carried down on stretchers. When the battle ended, both of them became red. The next few battles were much cleaner. The longest was only 20 minutes, while the shortest was only a few minutes. Unknowingly, they were getting closer and closer to Wang Lan's number 17. However, the morning battle was set for number 14. Wang Lan's battle should be in the afternoon. Wang Lan and Jiang Sinyu's battle should be over by today. CSCC's battle might be tomorrow. As for Su Xiangwen's battle, it might not even be the day after tomorrow. The main examiner's side was really good in all aspects, except for their mouths. At least in terms of food, many of the examinees from poor places were crying. Perhaps they had never eaten such delicious food in their lives. They cried as they chewed on beef and lamb legs. Life in the cafeteria was full of different flavors. Jiang Xinyu stomped hard on Wang Lan's foot. Only then did Wang Lan retract his gaze and look at Jiang Xinyu's angry expression. At this moment, Wang Lan's left foot was stomped hard again. It was CSCC. However, this woman's acting was indeed superb. She lowered her head and ate as if nothing had happened. She's very pretty, right? Yes. Then is she prettier or am I prettier? Jiang Xinyu's eyes were filled with killing intent. It seemed that no matter what personality or level a woman was, they would all reach a consensus on this question. Of course you're prettier. In my heart, you're the prettiest. Her left foot stomped down heavily again. However, Wang Lan was expressionless, because it didn't hurt. But you keep staring at her. Do you think I'll believe your nonsense? Xinyu, don't you know me? Am I such a shallow person? Wang Lan cried out. All this time, Wang Lan had never judged his likes and dislikes based on appearance. Of course, the main reason was that Wang Lan was a person who could restrain himself and act. He had met many beautiful girls, but almost all of them approached him with ulterior motives. This made Wang Lan appear as if he was unmoved by women and was loyal to love. Then why were you sneaking glances at her just now? I could tolerate it once or twice, but how many times have you done it this time? 12 times. CSCC raised her head and casually added, women are more sensitive in this aspect. Because she's very strong, Wang said calmly. Very strong. Su Xiangwen raised his head and looked at the blonde beauty. Is very strong a general standard or your standard? Mine. Fortunately, he's on our side. If he was on the other side, someone would be in trouble. Very strong? How strong? Did you see her attack? No, but I wasn't first in the previous exam. I was second. Although part of the reason was because I wasted some time, I didn't waste much time. When I finished the exam, she was already admiring the scenery on the lawn. After that, I waited for almost 2 hours before the third place came. Do you know the difference? I was caught off guard and was shown off by you again. Are you going to say that you were 2 hours ahead of the second place? No. I want to say that this girl's strength far surpasses that of a titled warrior. Sinyu's strength is already at the peak of the Star Sea realm. This girl is probably stronger than you, Ruya. That's why I couldn't help but take a few more glances. If there's a chance, I'd like to get to know her. Both stomps landed heavily at the same time. Chapter 568. After resting for an hour in the afternoon, the matches in the afternoon went on as scheduled. Soon, it was Wang Lan's turn to participate in the match. Wang Lan slowly walked into the arena, but his opponent did not enter. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, a flash of lightning suddenly flashed in front of Wang Lan's eyes. In the flash of lightning, a yellow-haired young man from the White Eagle State appeared in front of Wang Lan. Hello, I'm Lightning Boy. I was drinking coffee in a city 100 kilometers away, so I came a little late. Sorry to keep you waiting. Wang Lan's mouth twitched. This pretentious act was a little stiff. If you were really 100 kilometers away, you would have been disqualified a long time ago. Are both of you ready? If so, let's begin. People from the Jade State, don't be too nervous. I know my limits. Half a second will end the match. As soon as he finished speaking, the Lightning Boy in front of him turned into a flash of lightning and disappeared. Boom! Wang Lan's body instantly dispersed and turned into a fluttering butterfly. The Lightning Boy appeared at Wang Lan's position. On his fist, a ball of lightning condensed to the point of materialization and crackled with the sound of thousands of birds chirping. What a strange Takashi Hoshi technique. Wang Lan's figure appeared in a corner of the arena. If he retreated any further, he would be out of the arena. Seeing Wang Lan's position, The lightning boy's face was filled with doubt. He was not the only one. Everyone was puzzled. Wang Lan's position defied common sense and put himself in an extremely disadvantageous position. No matter if he moved back or left or right, he would be out of the arena and would be considered defeated. However, the lightning boy did not hesitate for long. After Wang Lan stood still, he suddenly turned into a flash of lightning and disappeared. Wang Lan took a deep breath and the star power around him flashed. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a gust of wind. In an instant, the wind turned into a wind pressure that was visible to the naked eye and spread across the entire arena like a scroll. At this moment, the lightning boy had attacked within 10 meters of Wang Lan. He was directly hit by Wang Lan's words. The lightning surrounding the lightning kid instantly melted under the wind pressure. The next moment, the lightning kid's body flew up like a baseball, turning into a meteor and disappearing. So perverted, a shrill cry pierced through the sky. This scene was quite comical. At this moment, the candidates on both sides finally understood why Wang Lan had chosen such a disadvantageous position. Because Wang Lan didn't need any advantageous position at all. The 500 square meter arena was enough for a Star Ocean Realm Takashi Hoshi to gallop about. Who would have thought that Wang Lan's Takashi Hoshi would be able to cover the entire 500-meter arena with such terrifying power? The wind attribute Takashi Hoshi could indeed restrain the lightning attribute, but how strong would the wind be to melt the lightning attribute Takashi Hoshi? This was under the premise that Wang Lan hadn't used the wind attribute's cutting ability. If Wang Lan were to use it, no one doubted whether the area covered by the wind attribute Takashi Hoshi would be ground into meat paste. The range and power of this Takashi Hoshi was definitely beyond the S rank. The lightning boy and Wang Lan weren't even on the same level. Where did this freak come from? Everyone looked at Wang Lan with fear in their eyes. Even Yulia, who had always been Wang Lan's rival, couldn't help but look at Wang Lan with surprise. The lightning boy said, "Half a second," but Wang Lan said half a second was too high profile. Let's be more modest and say 3 seconds. Wang Lan left the arena, and the competition continued. Overall, the strength of the two sides was relatively equal, except for Wang Lan and Yulia, who had cheats. As expected, Yulia didn't disappoint Wang Lan's guess. She directly used holy light illumination to eliminate her opponent in 1 second. Moreover, this holy light illumination was really unfathomable. Even with Wang Lan's cultivation, he couldn't see through her attack method. Her whole body emitted a dazzling light. Wherever the light went, the target would be fixed in the air, motionless. When the light disappeared, the target had already lost consciousness and was in free fall. Moreover, Wang Lan was very sure that Yulia was still holding back. Otherwise, this holy light illumination would have instantly killed her opponent. After that, it was Jiang Sinyu's battle. With Jiang Sinyu's peak star Sea Realm strength, she was originally one of the few people at the peak of the second echelon. Except for Yulia and Wang Lan, she had a chance of winning against everyone. Therefore, she smoothly defeated her opponent after 5 minutes. The first day's battles ended after Jiang Sinyu's battle. The first day's battles were 24. It seemed that they should be able to finish in 4 days. At night, they still rested in the camp's dormitory. On the second day, CSCC's luck was not bad. She met someone who had been injured in the first battle, and his injury hadn't completely healed. Originally, his strength was comparable to CSCC's, but because of his injury, he crushed her. After 12 minutes, the opponent raised his hands and surrendered. Wang Lan thought that CSCC's luck was already very good. He didn't expect Su Xiangwen's luck to be even better. He met someone who could disperse his spiritual power to form an invisible and undetectable doppelganger. This kind of innate ability was very powerful, but it was very dismal when it was countered. Unfortunately, his doppelganger couldn't hide from Su Xiangwen's celestial eye. It was beaten up by Su Xiangwen's pure yang dharma body and left with glory. After 4 days of fierce battles, the venue was destroyed more than a dozen times. The second test ended perfectly. Although the test's rules were simple, the cruel elimination rate of 50% put a lot of pressure on the victors. It was said that the last test was also the cruelest of the 3 tests. At present, only 100 out of 1,000 candidates had passed, and 90% of them had been eliminated. Every time the International Security Committee selection test was held, the number of people who passed was about 20. Only 20 out of 1,000. Just thinking about it made one's back tingle. These 1,000 candidates were originally chosen from various academies all over the world, and they were the cream of the crop. In other words, if you were eliminated, it might not be because you were not strong enough. It might just be that you were unlucky. The 3rd test was held a week later. The free week was for the candidates to recuperate. In the 1st test, not many of the 200 people who passed were seriously injured. However, in the 2nd test, 50% of them were seriously injured and 90% of them were injured. Perhaps the cruelty of the test was not only the cruel elimination rate, but also the cruel injury rate. The examiners specially sent more than a dozen top medical Takashi Hoshi to guard the place in order to prevent accidents. Fortunately, there were no fatal situations in the 4 days of the test. Even Wang Lan didn't have a chance to make a move. The surroundings of the camp were barren, like an island of prisoners. There was no entertainment here. Therefore, these 7 days were very difficult for most of the Takashi Hoshi. However, Wang Lan and the others had 4 people. Coincidentally, they could play mahjong and poker. Time passed quickly. 7 days passed quietly. On the night before the 3rd test, the continuous roar of helicopters was heard for the entire night. 30 military helicopters landed in the open space of the camp. After dawn, with a hurried whistle, 100 fully recovered candidates lined up neatly in the center of the camp. The 3rd test is about to begin. Candidates who have done the strategy should know that the 3rd test is a team test. Each team is a 4-person team. You are free to form a team, or you can be assigned by us. Candidates who are free to form a team, please stand over here. Most of the people in the crowd were observing. Nearly half of the examinees were looking at Wang Lan and Yulia. Unfortunately, their calculations were destined to fail. Wang Lan and Yulia took the lead and walked out of the team. Jiang Xinyu, CSCC, Su Xiangwen, and Wang Lan stood to the side. The candidates who wanted to gain experience looked at Su Xiangwen and the others enviously. At this moment, Su Xiangwen seemed to have reached the peak of his life. We will randomly assign the rest of you to a team. Now, I will announce the content of the 3rd test. After a while, you will leave on the helicopter and land in different places. But don't worry, the place you will be taking the test is exactly the same. You will need to sneak into Saint-Dejo of New Blue. I think many of the candidates here have heard of Saint-Dejo. That's right, it is one of the 3 cities of crime in the world. The instructor looked at the expressions of the candidates with satisfaction and smiled. 100 years ago, New Blue wanted to change the terrible law and order in the country. Coupled with the unique geographical environment of Saint-Dejo, they exiled some criminals to Saint-Dejo to fend for themselves. After that, Saint-Dejo gradually became the holy land for the world's most wanted criminals to escape from the law. After becoming the city of crime, not only did Saint-Dejo not become dilapidated, it became even more prosperous. There are 2 rules of survival in Saint-Dejo. The day is New Blue's rule of survival, and the night is the rule of survival for the underworld. And now, New Blue wants to completely take over Saint-Dejo, so they asked the United Nations to send out peacekeeping forces to eliminate the criminal forces. We will use this task as the topic of the 3rd test. Hearing this, some of the candidates are starting to laugh, right? As soon as the instructor finished speaking, a few of the examinees who were secretly smiling quickly retracted their faces and suppressed their smiles. Everyone here is a powerful Takashi Hoshi. Isn't it easy to deal with some underworld organizations? Do you think the International Security Committee's recruitment test is only this difficult? You are too naive. First of all, the dark forces of Saint-Dejo are no longer the gangs and criminal forces you think. I have said before that Saint-Dejo is the holy land for many fugitives who want to escape from the law. But I didn't say that these fugitives are just ordinary fugitives. In Saint Dejo, there are many S-rank Takashi Hoshi traders. You should know what S-rank means. There are at least some Star C Realm Takashi Hoshi. Some of the candidates are thinking that Star C Realm Takashi Hoshi isn't a big deal. You are all elites of your country, and you are fighting in small teams. Star C Realm is nothing to be afraid of. However, under these external conditions, you have to follow the rules of the test. Whoever doesn't follow the rules will be eliminated. The first rule is that you cannot enter Saint Dejo under any name. You are not a candidate, not a genius of a country. You only represent yourself. You can be a mercenary, a wanderer, or a beggar. But the identity you give to yourself can only be you. The second rule is that every team is in charge of an area. This area is where you enforce the law and fight against criminals. The third rule is that you are heroes who fight against criminals. While fighting against criminals, you are not allowed to destroy public property. Of course, it is inevitable that there will be some damage to the surrounding environment. Depending on the degree of damage to public property, we will deduct corresponding points. Similarly, if you successfully fight against criminals, you will have corresponding points added. Finally, the final points will be calculated according to the teams. I only want the 5 teams with the highest points. Then, I will have to ask you to choose a plane to take the test. All right, you will receive an envelope on the plane. This is the hint for you to enter the mission. Good luck, children. Chapter 569. Sitting on the plane, Wang Lan received a letter of faith. This was the initial mission of their assessment, which was also the activation mission. They had to complete the mission before it would be officially activated. Wang Lan was assigned to the 7th team. The initial mission was very simple, which was to meet someone in a hotel. After the meeting, the other party would activate the assessment. If the mission was not completed, the assessment would remain inactive. No matter how well you did, your points would be reset to 0. After meeting the person who was supposed to meet them, the person would tell them the detailed rules of the assessment. How much do you guys know about Saint Dejo? Wang asked after reading the letter. I don't know much about it, but I've heard that Saint Dejo is known as the capital of crime. I only know that it has the world's most violent drug dealers, the biggest casinos, and the most prosperous sex trade, Su Xiangwen said with a straight face. Saint Dejo is one of the most prosperous regions in New Blue. It was originally the place where criminals from New Blue were exiled. Who would have thought that because of this, the desolate Saint Dejo's economy would soar? In just a short 100 years, Saint Dejo's GDP had already surpassed the capital of New Blue. And New Blue had always wanted to truly control Saint Dejo. However, things did not go as planned. The officials that were sent were quickly assimilated by the corruption. They even helped Saint Dejo in the underground. The armed forces sent by the New Blue government were either at their wits' end, or they pretended to be obedient. Those who were tough were even killed. Saint Dejo belonged to New Blue in name, but in reality, New Blue no longer had any control over Saint Dejo. With the strength of us examinees, it would not be difficult to take down Saint Dejo. However, after taking it down, I'm afraid that Saint Dejo's economy would not be able to sustain itself. New Blue does not care about this, Jiang Xinyu said faintly. A few hours later, the helicopter sent Wang Lan and the others a few hundred kilometers away. After dropping off Wang Lan and the others, the helicopter left. As for arranging identities for Wang Lan and the others, there was no such thing. However, these small matters were not difficult for Wang Lan's team of 4. They quietly sneaked into Saint Dejo. Then, they coincidentally met a group of hoodlums who saw that they were easy to bully and wanted to rob them. Instead of robbing them, they ended up giving Wang Lan and the others a few hundred jade coins as startup capital. Jade coins and green coins were the most commonly used currencies in this world. However, in Saint Dejo County, jade coins were much stronger compared to the blue coins of the New Blue country. As such, if one were to use jade coins and green coins for transactions in the black market, it would be a sign of sincerity. They arrived at the 7th region that they were responsible for. Following the instructions on the envelope, they arrived at AI or hostel and booked 2 rooms to wait. This was the mission card's content, which was to wait for the contact to meet them. The night passed peacefully until dawn. Wang Lan and the other three gathered together and waited from dawn to dusk. St. Dezhou City lived up to its name of being the capital of crime. Gunshots could be heard throughout the night. Out of curiosity, Su Xiangwen opened his heavenly eye to check. Although Su Xiangwen's heavenly eye could see as far as 8 miles away, he could only see very blurry images. It was like counting a plate of sesame seeds from 3 meters away. That night, all kinds of robberies, gang fights, assassinations, arson, and so on almost never stopped. The 4 of them waited in the hostel for 3 days, but there was still no contact from the contact. This made Wang Lan a little anxious. The other teams had already started, yet they were still waiting. Repeatedly reading the contents of the letter, there was no mistake in the interpretation, nor was there any hidden password. If the contact did not initiate the assessment, then even if Wang Lan struck the crime, it would not count as a score. If he caused damage to the surroundings, he might even lose points. Even if Wang Lan could successfully fight evil without destroying a single flower or grass, what would happen after the official examination if she did it before? Just as Wang Lan's patience was wearing thin, the phone in the room suddenly rang. Wang Lan picked up the phone and listened to the other party's voice before quickly hanging up the phone. "How is it?" Jiang Xinyu was also waiting anxiously. The contact called. He said that he would come here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. He was wearing a gray suit, a white hat, and a black cane. "He's finally here. I've been waiting for so long that even the flowers have withered." The next morning, Wang Lan and the other 3 gathered in the room and looked downstairs through the gap in the curtains. At 7:50, a taxi stopped in front of the hostel on time. He was dressed in a gray suit with a white gentleman's hat on his head. He held a black cane in his hand, and the top of the cane was a round ball made of ivory. Obviously, this was the contact. The contact got out of the car, tidied up his clothes, and then took out 2 jade coins and handed them to the driver. The driver took the money and whistled away. The contact tidied up his clothes and walked to the hostel. Suddenly, the top of the contact's head flew up. Blood and brain matter splattered out. Half a second ago, the contact was still walking to the hostel with a calm expression. Half a second later, he was shot in the head by a bullet from far away. This scene left Wang Lan and the others dumbfounded. It was not this kind of unforeseen event that shocked Wang Lan and the others, but the contact was dead. How did the assessment start? After hesitating for a second, they immediately stood up and rushed out of the room. The letter said that before the mission started, they could not reveal their identity as Takashi Hoshi, so Wang Lan and the others could only obediently run down the stairs. The entrance was a mess, and the scene was too horrible to look at. However, the staff and guests in the hostel seemed to be used to it. Although there was some fear on their faces, they did not panic. This bullet was shot from at least 1 kilometer away. Wang Lan stood where the contact was. With the purple eyes of the void's long-range vision, he instantly found the suspicious shooting point 5 kilometers away. "Wang Lan, what do we do?" "The contact was killed," CSCC asked worriedly. "The bracelet didn't say that the assessment is over, which means that we still have chance. Since the contact was killed, we have to find the murderer first. Let's go." The 4 of them ran to the target location, and then came to the back door of hostel. This hostel had a total of 7 floors, and there were more than 100 windows above the back door. Each window was equipped with anti-theft windows. The hostel was 2 streets away from the hostel, and there were 4 layers of shelter. There were only 10 windows that could be used to shoot from the hostel. There were 7 to 8 cameras behind the hostel, and they could capture every corner of the hostel without any blind spots. Wang Lan and the others turned to the entrance of the hostel. The entrance was facing a busy street. Other than the security cameras at the entrance of the hostel, the other shops were also equipped with security cameras. Wang Lan led the 4 of them into the hostel. "Sir, do you need any service? Give me a room." 1. When the staff saw that it was 2 men and 2 women, they immediately smiled knowingly. "It's my pleasure to serve you." After getting a room, Wang Lan's money was all gone. He entered the room and turned on the computer. He plugged in the USB flash drive and imported Xiao AI into the network system. Wang Lan, Xiao AI 886 has been activated. Help me take down all the security cameras around here. Okay. After waiting patiently for 20 minutes, more than 20 security camera grids appeared on the computer, and all of them were replayed from 30 minutes ago. Yes, the images changed rapidly, and Wang Lan's eyes were locked on these 20 images. Stop! Wang Lan suddenly called for a stop. In the image, a white man carrying a cello case walked out of the hostel, then called a taxi and left. That's him, Xiao AI. Track this person's whereabouts, Wang Lan ordered again. There was only one surveillance image left on the computer screen. The white man got out of the car after 5 streets, and then came to a shopping mall. Xiao AI kept hacking the security camera network, and finally tracked him to the underground parking lot of the shopping mall. Then, she saw the middle-aged man open a private car, put the violin in the trunk, and drove away. He then turned into a street without security cameras and finally left. Is this person the murderer? Jiang Xinyu asked. It should be him. Xiao AI. Check the car's ownership information. Where can you find it? Check it in the police station's traffic system. Hack into the traffic system and find out the car's information. Please wait a moment. After waiting for half an hour, a form popped up on the computer screen. The photo on the form was the person Wang Lan had been tracking. Hansen, senior electrical engineer. What do we do next? Of course we're looking for him. He killed our contact. How can he get away with it so easily? The 4 of them followed the information on the form and found Queens Avenue, which was 10 kilometers away. Queens Avenue was the busiest street in the 7th district that Wang Lan was in charge of. It was a place where upper-class people gathered. Hansen lived in a very famous upper-class apartment in the local area. Wang Lan and the other 3 quietly sneaked into the apartment and arrived at Hansen's place. Jiang Xinyu and the other 2 hid in the dark, and Wang Lan quietly appeared in Hansen's bedroom. In the living room, Hansen no longer looked like a sloppy bearded man. His face was shaved clean, and he looked particularly energetic and had the mature charm of an uncle. He was wearing a gray suit and a white gentleman's hat, and a black cane was placed on the edge of the dining table. There were 5 steak sets on the dining table, and Hansen was humming a tune while arranging the dishes. He looked particularly happy. Seeing this scene, Wang Lan's eyes flashed, and he seemed to understand something in an instant. Wang Lan walked out of the bedroom, not bothering to hide her figure. Hansen saw Wang Lan coming out, and he was not surprised or panicked. He just raised his head and smiled at Wang Lan casually. You came a little faster than I thought. Why are you alone? Where are your team members? I can't confirm your identity yet, since I know you're coming, and my outfit is exactly the same as the code of the contact. What are you worried about? But a person wearing the same outfit was killed by you at a distance of 5 kilometers away, a headshot. That person, he killed, raped, robbed, and committed all kinds of crimes. The day before yesterday, he fell into my hands. I originally planned to kill him, but then I decided to use him as a test for my job handover. If you can't find me within 3 hours, you'll be directly eliminated from the exam. But you guys completed it very well, and only used half the time to arrive. Let me introduce myself. I'm a 4th-level agent of the International Security Committee. My real name is Lark Bond. In the box on the table is my ID. You should know how to determine the authenticity of the ID, right? Wang Lan came to the table, opened the box, and took out the ID inside. The ID was indeed authentic. The purpose of my contact with you is to introduce you to the situation in Area 7 and answer some of the questions you raised. I'm very happy to see you, and I'm finally leaving this damn place. Chapter 570. After confirming that the other party was really the contact, Su Xiangwen and the other 2 walked out of their hiding place. I prepared some good steaks for you guys. Sit down and enjoy, Lark said warmly. Wang Lan shook his head. Activate our assessment. The assessment has already started when you stepped into my apartment. I don't know what hidden rules are in your assessment, but I'll tell you what I know. This is your base, your residence, and your nest. If your residence is discovered by others and attacked, your assessment will be over. For this attack, even a stone will count. So, you must not expose your whereabouts, even if it's suspected. Those gangsters would rather kill the wrong person than let you go. Even if it's just suspicion, they wouldn't mind blowing up the entire building. Secondly, your mission is to fight crime. The bracelet on your wrist will collect data for you and then transmit it to the central computer for evaluation. All candidates will be ranked in teams. Next, from the beginning of the mission to the end, no one can know your identity. You're just legends. Once you're done, leave and hide your achievements. During the assessment, you don't belong to anyone. After the assessment, you won't have anything to do with this city. By the way, there's a senior detective in the Black and Light police station called James. He was secretly sent by the new blue government to cooperate with the International Security Committee. This person can be trusted. Apart from him, no one else can be trusted. If you need the cooperation of the police or any information, you can cooperate with him. Didn't you say that we can't let anyone know our identity or our whereabouts? This doesn't conflict with this person. First of all, he already knew your identity before your assessment started. If that's the case, everyone should be eliminated. Second, he knows which side you belong to, but this doesn't conflict with the previous conditions. You still can't let him know your identity or the location of your nest. He knows you're from the International Security Committee, but that's all he can do. To put it bluntly, he wants us to be the superheroes of White Eagle. You can think of it that way, but the superheroes of White Eagle are the idols of White Eagle, and you're just a dream of the citizens of Saint Dejoux. This is the key that belongs to you. I should go. Good luck. The other party left just like that, leaving Wang Lan and the other three staring at each other. What do we do next? CSCC broke the silence. Let's search the apartment first and see if there's anything useful. Su Xiangwen alone was enough to search for things. As long as he opened his heaven's eye and scanned it casually, he would find everything. In the apartment, the four people found 50,000 jade coins and 50,000 green coins, a total of 100,000. Other than daily necessities, there was nothing special. The money should be the startup capital for Wang Lan and the other three. Since we're going to play superheroes, let's do it the way superheroes do it. First of all, you need equipment that can hide your true identity, Wang Lan suggested. Do I have to wear tights? Isn't it too shameful? Su Xiangwen said with some repulsion. Who told you that we have to wear tights? Isn't a cloak and a mask enough to hide our identity? Jiang Xinyu was also disgusted by tights. To her, wearing tights was no different than not wearing anything at all. Something like that. Let's go buy cloaks first. It's best if it's a raincoat that can be used in rainy days. Also, the material must be good so that it won't affect the battle. Cece and I will go to the nearby supermarket to buy it, Jiang Xinyu said. Then what's the next move? Xiangwen will monitor the entire Darklight district, find out where the crime is, and then take action? No problem. Then that's it for now. Xiangwen and I will cook at home. Xinyu and Cece will go shopping first, Wang Lan said as he poured all the good steaks on the table into the trash can. This was the city of sin. One had to be vigilant. It was best not to eat food that was not cooked by oneself. Jiang Xinyu and CSCC went straight out the door. Wang Lan and Su Xiangwen started cooking. Su Xiangwen turned on the TV in the living room. The news on the TV was overwhelming. The criminal organizations in the other districts had been severely attacked last night. Our city finally had news of a hero's protection. Damn, Lair tricked us? The candidates in the other districts have already started, and we've only just started? How many points are we lagging behind? Su Xiangwen immediately cried out indignantly. It might not be a bad thing for us. The criminal organizations that were attacked by the other teams can't stay in the other districts. When they see the Darklight district, no one is attacking them. Aren't they running over here? Although it sounds reasonable, logic tells me that it's not the case, Su Xiangwen said as he cut vegetables. In less than 2 hours, Jiang Xinyu and CSCC came back. They brought back 8 waterproof cloaks and a few masks. The masks were headgear type and would not fall off easily. The waterproof cloaks were pure black. Although the color was very old-fashioned, the design was quite innovative. Su Xiangwen put on the cloak and then put on a mask. It looks good, but it's a little monotonous. Wang Lan commented while rubbing his chin. Suddenly, he thought of an idea, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Wang Lan took a cloak and put on the ironing table. Then, he found a few cans of colored spray from the utility room. He used paper to cut out auspicious clouds and printed them on the cloak. A burst of red mist sprayed out. Soon, a red cloud appeared on the cloak. He continued to spray 7 or 8 auspicious clouds and then put on the cloak. In an instant, his aura became completely different. Not bad. Draw a few red clouds on the cloak, and the image immediately became lively. Just a few red clouds exuded a serious and mysterious aura. Wang Lan, I didn't know you had a talent for fashion design. And this cloak looks good on both men and women. After putting on the cloak, CSCC looked at her image in the mirror. Her aura immediately soared to a new level. Now that we have the clothes, what about our identity to the outside world? Daybreak, Wang Lan said directly. We're called Daybreak to the outside world. Daybreak? Before the dawn, the darkest moment. In the night, welcome the dawn. This name has a deep meaning and fits our setting very well. Jiang Sinyu's eyes lit up. She immediately thought of the deep meaning of this name. But to Wang Lan, the deep meaning was nothing. He just wanted cosplay. After waiting for a day in the residential area, Su Xiangwen opened his heaven's eye from time to time and scanned the surroundings. This city was really as the rumors said. During the day, it was a bustling and civilized city. The people on the streets were well-dressed and polite. There was not even a trace of fighting. The sun gradually disappeared from the horizon. Soon, the night came. After 8 o'clock at night, the people in the day returned home. They were either sleeping, surfing the internet, or watching television. No matter what happened outside, they would not take a look. The outside world no longer belonged to them. It had nothing to do with them. Lanzi, about 3 kilometers away, there are 2 groups of people who seem to want to fight. There are about 100 people on both sides. Daybreak is moving out for the first time. Move out. The 4 of them disappeared from the apartment with a whoosh. In the abandoned car park, the 2 groups of people were clearly cursing at each other. Most of these people were dressed strangely. If they were not tattoos, they were rivets. In any case, they were dressed in anything abnormal. The territory of Star General Street is mine. You guys actually snatched it while I was out doing business? Who gave you the courage? Pute, you can't do it anymore. Do you still think you're the same Pute as before? I'm the one who took the territory. So what? Not only am I going to take the territory of Star General Street, I'm going to ** King eat you. Okay, looks like there's going to be an idiot who will die under my fist today. I've already broken through to the peak of Nebulous Stage. It's hard to say who will live and who will die. Let's go. Chop them up. Wang Lan and the others who were hiding in the dark had black lines all over their faces. Were the underworld gangs now so simple and violent? They didn't beat around the bush at all and just directly attacked in one wave? Compared to the bosses of the local gangs, this group of underworld gangs fighting over territory was like kindergarten. There were more than 10 Takashi Hoshi on both sides. The highest combat power was at the peak of Nebulous Stage, and the lowest combat power was the ordinary people with sticks. The ordinary people were just clamoring to watch the show. The real fierce battle was between the Takashi Hoshi on both sides. Lanzi, there are 2 groups of people exchanging fire 2 kilometers away. Before they could move, Su Xiangwen noticed the chaos in the distance. Let's end this quickly and settle this here. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Lan and the others descended from the sky. Who's there? The people on both sides immediately stopped and looked at the 4 people. However, what greeted them was not an answer, but the 4 people's merciless fists. They didn't even need to use Takashi Hoshi skills to deal with this kind of trash. Wang Lan punched each person and directly destroyed the star palaces of the bosses on both sides. CSCC and Jiang Xinyu picked up a tachi and an ice sword respectively and rushed into both sides as if there was no one there. The plan was discussed on the way here. The Takashi Hoshi would directly destroy their star palaces, and the ordinary people would directly chop off one of their hands. There were a total of 100 people on both sides. After being attacked by Wang Lan and the others for less than a minute, all of them were left here howling in pain, especially the bosses on both sides. They looked at Wang Lan and the others in black cloaks with red clouds on their faces with despair and fear. Who the hell are you? Why do you want to fight us? Who sent you? We are Akatsuki. We are here to judge you sinners. Wang Lan lowered his voice and said this sentence in Japanese in an unusually pretentious manner. Host country. Another gang leader roared with a ferocious look. The four people disappeared into the night with a whoosh. Ring, ring, ring. The shrill sound of a phone rang. A hairy hand reached out from under the blanket and turned on the bedside lamp. A balding, middle-aged white man groped for the phone in a daze and picked it up. Hello, I'm the Darklight District Police Chief Johnson. Chief Johnson, there was a fight between two gangs at the abandoned car graveyard just now. Got it. When they're done fighting, I'll immediately send someone to clean up the mess. They're already done fighting. Got it. Johnson mumbled and hung up the phone. Wait, which bastard called just now? Forget it. I'll definitely kick him out tomorrow. With that, Johnson crawled back under the blanket and fell asleep. Ring, ring, ring. After a few minutes, the shrill sound rang again. Johnson reached out to pick up the phone again. There was an intense gunfight between two gangs at Xiaoxi Street. It's over now. Got it, got it. Also, I want to see your resignation letter before I go to work tomorrow. All right, what's your name? Daybreak. Okay, Daybreak. You're fired. Johnson hung up the phone several times before finally hanging up. He crawled back under the blanket and mumbled, Daybreak? Who's new here? Ring, ring, ring. Johnson sat up abruptly. His face had become unusually pale. Hello? Chapter 571. On Donghua Street, there were two gangs doing drug deals. They've been dealt with on the spot. Who are you? You called me 3 times in the middle of the night and woke me up 3 times. Did you do that on purpose? I'm sorry, but I had no choice. The security in the dark and light district is really bad at night. *T. The security in the dark and light district is the best in Saint Dejo. Also, who are you? I'm Daybreak. Daybreak? What Daybreak? I'm warning you. If you call me again to wake me up, it won't be as simple as firing you. I'll put you on the wanted list. After that, he wasn't woken up by the phone again. However, when he went to work, Xiao-san was stunned by the scene in front of him. The yard of the police station was filled with a group of disabled people. Xiao-san's first thought was, is there a war? Is this the frontline garrison camp? However, Xiao-san instantly realized that this group of disabled people were the local triads. What's going on? Xiao-san asked a busy police officer. Last night, a group of heroes appeared in the dark and light district to fight criminals. They'll appear wherever there's a fight, and they're very heavy-handed. As long as they're Takashi Hoshi, their star palaces will be destroyed. As for the ordinary people, their hands and feet will be chopped off. Why did you bring them to the police station? Doesn't Saint Dejo have its own rules? They came of their own accord. The police officer quickly replied. What are they doing here? Reporting a case. PFFF. Xiao-sun looked at the defeated soldiers with grievances written all over their faces. He wondered if Saint Dejo had gone crazy. We can't be bothered to arrest you, but you still have the face to report a case? They're saying that 4 vicious people suddenly attacked them and cruelly chopped off their hands and feet. Hands or feet, it's the same. They're asking the police to find the real culprits and arrest them as soon as possible. They're teaching me how to do things. Xiao-san was instantly satisfied. If they want to report a case, then report it. Just file it. Xiao-san swayed his big but into the office building and then went to his own office. In the office, Xiao-san saw 3 big shots that were rarely seen. Their decent clothes made them look like elites, but who knew that they were the evil spirits of the night in the dark and light district? Sirs, why are you up so early today? Xiao-san, I'm not going to beat around the bush with you. Were the 4 people last night sent by the new blue government? Where's their information? I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about them. But I think you all know that there are people with the same status and behavior in other districts as well. Our dark and radiant district is the latest. Yesterday, I thought that I had forgotten about the Dark and Light District. Now, it seems that the Dark and Light District has also begun. Hearing Xiao Sen's words, the three big shots' faces turned gloomy. In fact, they were already mentally prepared for the arrival of Wang Lan and the others. The other 20 or so districts have been immobilized by this group of mysterious fellows who had suddenly appeared. How could the Dark and Light District be the only exception? I need you to investigate their identities and whereabouts. Another balding, middle-aged man slowly took out a bank card from his pocket. There's 3 million here. If you find it, there's another 5 million. Blue coins? Green coins? Well, I'll try my best. But since you're so generous, I can reveal their names. They're called Daybreak. The sober Xiao-san had already guessed who had called them last night. Daybreak? I got it. By the way, a friendly reminder, it's best for you to stop your night activities. According to the feedback from other districts, this group of guys is very strong. Obviously, there's a connection between them. Even if you find them and can eliminate them, it's hard to say if the people from other districts will join forces to retaliate. No one can be free after offending us 3 big shots. Find them, I'll find a way to eliminate them. Although the 3 big shots' mouths were very tough, their bodies were very honest. The next day, the forces under the 3 big shots tactfully did not come out to make trouble. The ones who came out at night were either small gangs or dangerous lone wolves. However, Daybreak's attack did not stop. The next day, the police station was still very busy. Early in the morning, many people with missing arms and legs could be seen coming to the police station to report cases. It was not that they did not have a backbone, but they and their boss had been dealt with. They could not find anyone to stand up for them. They could only come to the police station to report cases. In just a few days, the security at night in the Dark and Light District was cleared. Not to mention large-scale fights. Even the small gangsters who roamed at night to rob passersby at night disappeared without a trace. It was time to test the ability of each team. Not only in the Dark and Light District, but also in the other districts, the difficulty of punishing and eliminating evil became more and more difficult. Wang Lan's side could still catch a gang member and find his boss through the spiritual imprint, thus eliminating the whole line. The other districts did not have this kind of brain, so they could only patrol the entire district for one night. After a busy night, they might not even find a single criminal. Is our strength too high, or did the examiner underestimate our strength? It's only been 7 days, and we've already cleaned up the Dark and Light District. Su Xiangwen, who was lying on the sofa, said proudly. The 3 major underworld organizations have all been eradicated. The underground money houses have all been eradicated. The underground casinos and even the underground sex houses have all been swept by us. Is the mission over just like that? Isn't this a little too easy? If the underground forces of Saint Dejo were only this weak, then it wouldn't be called the Sin City. What have we been hitting these past few days? The gangs, criminals, and gangsters on the surface. If it's only them, why is the new blue government so helpless against Saint Dejo? Wang Lan said thoughtfully. Lanzi, who else do you think is behind this? We've imprinted so many people, but there's no one behind them. It's not that there's no one, but even these people who were pushed to the surface as cannon fodder did not know who was behind them. It's only now that the difficulty of the test has begun to show. What do you do next? Jiang Xinyu asked as she brought out the dinner. Investigate old cases. The mastermind behind the scenes puts scapegoats in front of the stage while he hides in the dark. They'll come out after the news passes. Since they don't want to come out themselves, then we'll dig them out. We'll look through the old cases in the police station. Maybe we can find clues about the mastermind behind the scenes. But the rule of the test is that we can't cooperate with the police. If we don't cooperate with the police, we won't be able to get their case files. Wait, Lanzi, are you talking about hacking into their system? That's right. Xiao AI has already been used to control the camera equipment in the Black and Light District. Storage is limited, so we can't control the police station. Xinyu, did you bring Bing Shui? Of course I did. Let Bing Shui take over the police station. After dinner, Jiang Xinyu used her laptop to let Bing Shui take over the police station's firewall. Although the police station's firewall was the most advanced system in the world, It was just a piece of paper in front of the artificial intelligence Bing Shui. In less than half an hour, Bing Shui successfully entered the police station's internal network and spent another half an hour to obtain the highest level of authority in the police station system. Wang Lan, come take a look. At night, Jiang Xinyu knocked on Wang Lan's door. Wang Lan and Su Xiangwen walked out of the room in their pajamas and into the living room. A file with a button appeared on Jiang Xinyu's screen. A missing person case from a year ago. I think there should be a human trafficking group behind this case. It might even be an organ trafficking group. Also, their target might be someone who has awakened the Takashi Hoshi talent. Oh, how do you know? A year ago, on May 15th, 9 girls from the Black and Light District Middle School mysteriously disappeared. They didn't belong to the same class, and most of them didn't know each other. But they had one thing in common. They weren't born in Saint-Dejoux. They only came to Saint-Dejoux after they were 10 years old. The time of their disappearance was the night before the soul resonance ceremony. You're saying that there's an underground criminal group involved in human trafficking or organ trafficking. This criminal group's target is someone who wasn't born in Saint-Dejoux? Su Xiangwen asked doubtfully. What's the point? Do these inhumane people know that rabbits don't eat the grass near their burrows? No, I think it's not that they don't want to make a move on the locals, but that they don't dare. How many of the locals in Saint-Dejoux are kind? Don't forget, this place was a place of exile for criminals 150 years ago. If you see a trembling old man on the street, he might have been a professional hitman. CSCC also walked out in her pajamas. Isn't this case too difficult? How about we change it? Jiang Xinyu looked at Wang Lan's thoughtful expression and suddenly asked hesitantly. No need. The easier the case, the lower the score. The harder the case, the higher the score. The test is based on the score. Shout AI classmate. I'm here. Use the big data to analyze the conditions of these 9 girls. Yes, big data was the latest evolution direction that Wang Lan gave Xiao AI. Wang Lan didn't need an AI with high intelligence. Wang Lan wasn't lonely, and he didn't want to fall in love with an AI. Why would it be so humane? All Xiao AI needed to do was to be a good tool. The big data template was created by Xiao AI using countless clones to spread across various servers around the world. Then, it used the connections between the clones to form a huge data network. After it was done, Xiao AI could collect any information that Wang Lan wanted to know as long as it happened, as long as someone communicated online. The data has been sorted out. Last year, a total of 1,300 people went missing in Saint-Dejoux. Among them, 206 were boys and girls. There were 36 people who were more than 80% similar to these 9 people. Among them, 10 were males and 26 were females. They all went missing on the same night. Yes, they went missing on the same night. It could be determined that they were done by the same person or organization. It seems that the scale of this group is not small. Bing Shui, is there no detailed information in the police station? There is no information about this case on the internet. Moreover, 90% of the reports in the police station only have the report and case record, but there is no investigation record. Is this police station just for show? Chapter 572. Should we contact James? CSCC suggested. Although the contact person said that we can contact him, it's best not to. After all, no one knows if contacting the people from the new blue government will affect our score. Jiang Xinyu asked hesitantly, what's the purpose of this assessment? Wang Lan suddenly raised his head and asked, to fight against criminal forces so that the new blue government can control Saint-Dejoux. Wang Lan, you mean that as long as we have a clear goal, we can do anything, right? Jiang Xinyu instantly realized something and asked, I think so. After all, I'm different from you guys. I led the Demon's spy investigation and the Birds of Paradise's pursuit. My philosophy and experience tell me that the rules are secondary and the results are the most important. If we can achieve our goal, we can disregard all rules. The International Security Committee is a global organization that maintains world peace. How could they not understand this? I even suspect that the more they emphasize on the rules, the more bullsh asterisk T they are. Of course, we don't have to take risks to prove our guess. But since the contact person said that we can contact James, we can contact him in order to get more clues and find out who's hiding in the dark. You're our captain. Your decision is our will. Jiang Xinyu was relieved. Since the goal was the most important, they should do whatever it takes to achieve the goal. In the dead of night, the entire Saint Dejo fell into a dead silence. This kind of silence at night had never happened in Saint Dejo in the past 50 years. For those who lived in Saint Dejo their whole lives, there were only a few times in their long lives when they didn't hear riots and gunshots at night. When Saint Dejo's public security was in chaos, the citizens of Saint Dejo had been praying that the superheroes of White Eagle would come to Saint Dejo so that they could drink at night, dance at night, walk under the stars, and enjoy the beautiful scenery by the lake. Now that the superheroes were here, they still didn't dare to go out at night, even if there wasn't a single gangster on the streets. They had been scared for too long and couldn't adjust in time. James's apartment was located on Binghuan Street, which was basically the residence of the important civil servants. It was only a corner away from Wang Lan's apartment. Wang Lan was wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it and a white mask. He slowly and silently rose from the floor of James' house. Woof! A black shepherd on the bed instantly sat up and warned Wang Lan. James instantly rolled off the bed and pointed his gun at Wang Lan. "Who is it?" "Daybreak." Wang Lan's deep voice reverberated in the room as if it had its own echo. James's eyes flashed, and he obediently put away his gun. "Don't you take off your clothes when you sleep?" Wang Lan looked at James in confusion. James was not only wearing a police uniform, but he was also wearing a combat vest. "Don't say that I don't take off my clothes when I sleep. There are weapons hidden in every corner of my room." After confirming Wang Lan's identity, James put away his gun and stood up to pour 2 glasses of wine. "Want a drink?" "I don't drink. What do you need me to do for you? Provide clues to the bigger person behind the scenes? Then you can't count on me. I've been in Saint Dejo for 2 years. There are a total of 100 people with me. They all have different identities. Until now, there are only 4 people left in Saint Dejo. Half of the others were assassinated, and the other half applied to be transferred back to New Blue. We don't dare to act rashly. The slightest movement will lead to a warning shot. I know that the ones active on the surface are just puppets, but I don't know who is behind the scenes. I can't investigate, and I don't dare to investigate. I'm only in charge of the Dark and Light District. A year ago, 9 girls went missing in the Dark and Light District. Do you know about this? I know, but it's not 9, it's 36. No, these 36 are only the number of people who went missing. Last year, more than 500 girls went missing in Saint Dejo, and it's the same every year. Their methods are very sophisticated. There are 7 million people in Saint Dejo. There are always girls who are careless or make bad friends and bring disaster to themselves. Have you investigated? James pointed to his chest. There's a gunshot wound here. I was shot while investigating the case. Unfortunately, all the evidence and clues were gone after I was rescued. Did you make a record? Yes. Wait for me. James left the bedroom and went to the next room. Wang Lan didn't follow him. Instead, he waited quietly. After a while, James handed a stack of documents to Wang Lan. I've recorded everything that I can, but there's still very few clues. Although I know that you have strong combat abilities, investigating isn't your area of expertise. We can work more closely together. There's no need for that. I'll look for you again if I need anything. I'll take my leave then. As soon as Wang Lan finished speaking, his figure disappeared. James stared at the direction where Wang Lan disappeared. He really didn't leave any trace behind. When he returned to the apartment, Jiang Xinyu and the others had already turned off the lights and gone to bed. In Saint Dejo, after 8 o'clock at night, the lights in the entire city would be turned off. The night was a world of evil. If you wanted to stay away from evil, you had to sleep early. Therefore, even if Wang Lan and the others couldn't sleep, they had to turn off the lights. If they stayed up late for a long time, it would easily arouse suspicion. The next day, when the sun rose, it was noisy outside. Wang Lan and the others woke up one after another. How is it? Any clues? Beside the toilet, Su Xiangwen asked while brushing his teeth. I brought the file back, but I didn't have time to look at it. Wang Lan wiped his mouth and walked to the living room. In the living room, CSCC was preparing breakfast. With her brother's teachings, CSCC's culinary skills could definitely reach the second level. However, Saint Dejo's cuisine was based on Europe and America, so there was very little variety of ingredients. CSCC didn't have much room to show off. There are both males and females among the 36 missing people. It just so happened that the 9 people in the Dark and Light District were all girls. First, they were all born in other places and came to live in Saint Dejo when they were young. However, James investigated and found that the majority of the schools these 9 girls went to weren't local. There were more than 600 of them, which means that they were from the same year as the 9 girls. There were a total of 113 people with the same conditions as them. Why did the 9 of them go missing? Is there anything special about the 9 of them? Nothing. From their family connections to their interactions, even their appearance and blood type, James investigated everything. There was indeed no connection. It's as if the 9 of them were picked out of hundreds of students. The file says that 3 days before they went missing, they went to the heavenly church to pray for blessings. Could it be because of that? CSCC asked as she flipped through the file. James also investigated later. Before the soul awakening ceremony in Saint Dejo, almost everyone would go to the heavenly church to pray for blessings. There seems to be a curse in Saint Dejo. In the past 30 years, very few people awaken the Takashi Hoshi talent every year. Now, it's less than 1% of 30 years ago. Can you imagine that in 4 cities with a population of 7 million, the number of people awakening the Takashi Hoshi talent every year is in the single digits? Every year, there are 60,000 people born, plus 20,000 people from other places. Every year, the number of people who participate in the soul resonance awakening ceremony is at least 50,000 to 80,000, but every year, only 20 to 30 people successfully awaken. What a pitiful awakening ratio. As a result, there is no Seibu Gakuin in Saint Dejo. The awakened Takashi Hoshi talent must go to school in the cities controlled by New Blue. Is there something wrong with this awakening ratio? Su Xiangwen asked with a shocked expression. Even in countries like Africa and India, where the awakening ratio is extremely low, there should be an awakening ratio of more than 6%, right? Saint Dejo doesn't even have 2%. That's why Saint Dejo is said to be a city cursed by the heavenly God. Living in the city of sin is the original sin, so they need to pray before participating in the soul resonance awakening. Just as James said, the people behind this case were not ordinary. Otherwise, he would not have been beaten to death when he was investigating this case. However, the mastermind had already wiped out all the clues. Plus, a year had passed, so there was very little useful information that could be provided. At this point, even if Wang Lan and the others wanted to investigate further, they would not have any leads. It seems that we really shouldn't have looked for this case. That's not necessarily the case. Right now, we don't know where to start because we don't have any leads. But if we think about it from another perspective, if we can get rid of the mastermind through this case, the points of this case alone may exceed all of our previous points. This is just like the college entrance exam. The small questions at the front are very easy, but if you get one question right, you'll only get 1 point. The big questions at the back are very difficult, but if you get one question right, you'll get 6 or even 12 points. For a bad student like me, I can only write a beautiful answer to those big questions. Lan Zi, it's time to show your real skills. Su Xiangwen laid on the sofa in a decadent posture, his eyes dull. I'm looking for. Wang Lan quickly browsed through the information that Xiao AI had collected using the big data on the computer. Wang Lan's eyes quickly scanned through the data. It was very difficult to filter out the correct information from the densely packed data by specific bytes. I've got it. Wang Lan suddenly shouted. Whoosh! Like a spring, Su Xiangwen sat up straight with a whoosh. So fast. Look, there's a murder case file here. The deceased, Bill, male, was once a retired Special Forces soldier. He came to the City of Sin to live 12 years ago. He was shot to death on the 1st of August last year. This Bill happened to be the father of one of the 9 missing girls, Karen. Coincidentally, not long after Bill was killed, his wife was planning to leave Saint Dejo with their young son. However, they died in a car accident not long after they left Saint Dejo. Bill was killed. The killer was very experienced and did not leave any clues, so Bill's case was filed. However, the death of his wife and son was the follow-up of a series of murders. The guy who killed Bill's wife and son was caught by the police for robbery not long after and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Can we get the identity of the person who hired the killer and then follow the clues? That's right. I don't think the reason for Bill's family being killed is that simple. Out of the 9 missing girls, only Karen's family was killed. Bill used to be a special forces soldier. According to his character, he wouldn't entrust his daughter's case to the police. He would definitely investigate it himself. Could the cause of his death be because he found something? Chapter 573. That's very likely. After Wang Lan raised this speculation, the other 3 immediately understood the reason behind it. Immediately, Wang Lan used Bing Shui, who had already taken root in the police system, to successfully break into the prison system. Soon, they found the delinquent who had killed Bill in the prison that had more than 10,000 people. In Shengda City, the existence of a prison was a joke. Those who should be locked up in prison were all free and happy outside. However, prison did exist, and it wasn't a punishment for criminals. Some capable criminals could go shopping during the day and stay in the prison at night. The prison was like an apartment, so it wasn't realistic to go to the prison during the day. Also, there were many eyes during the day, and it was easy to be discovered. When night fell, Wang Lan's team quietly disappeared from the room. Sneaking into a prison wasn't difficult for any of Wang Lan's team members, but since they were a team, they should act together. Su Xiangwen was responsible for providing information, avoiding surveillance or system detection. Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu entered the prison. The delinquent's name was Shirong. Although he had such a high-end name, his actions were so shameless that it made people's hair stand up. He was considered a small leader in prison, with 5 or 6 followers around him, so he didn't need to share his place with others. He had a single apartment for himself. Wang Lan silently stood beside Shirang's bed. This guy was still snoring loudly. Wang Lan gently waved his hand. An array of star power wrapped around Shirong. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lan and Shirong disappeared. In addition to the apartment, Wang Lan's team also prepared many temporary strongholds in the dark and light district. It was better to be safe than sorry. Since the apartment couldn't be exposed, then the apartment could only be used for sleeping and living. The junkyard where they first fought the criminals was a good place. Wang Lan and the others even built a temporary office with the junkyard. Wang Lan brought Shirong here and casually threw him on the ground. "Who? What are you doing?" "That bastard." Shirong had just woken up when he was thrown down. He was still in a daze. Without waiting for him to understand the situation, Wang Lan's palm had already slammed down. His palm pressed against Shirang's forehead, and his mental power immediately hacked into Shirang's mind like an axe, quickly reading Shirang's memories. A few minutes later, Wang Lan let go of his hand. Shirang's eyes were unfocused, and his mouth was drooling as he slowly fell to the ground. Xiangwan, deal with him. All right. For a Takashi Hoshi, there was no need to dig a hole to dispose of a corpse. They just had to press their palms on the ground, and Shirong was swallowed up by the soil to a depth of tens of meters. The earth element Takashi Hoshi activated his skill and crushed the scum into meat paste. Did you find any clues? This Shirong is a biker gang. He has a group of brothers who specialize in car accidents. Their skills were brilliant and untraceable. More than 90% of the car accidents were perfect accidents. The car accident that killed Bill's wife and child a year ago was indeed instigated by someone. That person's name is Joe. He's a loan shark who offered $20,000 to kill Bill's wife and child. What about Joe? Do you have him? Shirong is just an employee, not one of Joe's subordinates. Therefore, Shirong doesn't have Zhou's whereabouts in his memory, but he does have his appearance. I'll ask Xiao AI to use facial recognition to search for him later. The four of them cleaned up the traces, and Wang Lan received another 500 EXP and dozens of skill points in the system. Wang Lan might not even get 500 EXP even if he killed a Nebula Takashi Hoshi. Although Shirong was just an ordinary person, how could he provide so much EXP? It was conceivable that this Shirong deserved to die in the system's judgment. After returning to the apartment, Wang Lan turned on the computer and first synthesized Zhou's appearance. After half an hour of adjustment, a photo that was 90% similar to Zhou appeared on the computer screen. Xiao AI, use the data to search for the whereabouts of this face. Okay, please wait a moment. After waiting for about 5 minutes, the search results appeared. It wasn't that Xiao AI's searchability was too bad, but that Saint Dezhou's network was too trashy. Jade State had even developed 5G, but Saint Dezhou's network was still only 2 gigabit. This was the level of 20 years ago. Zhou San, the owner of Stell Credit Company, home address. Wang Lan immediately brought the four of them to Zhou San's residence. Unfortunately, Zhou San was not at home, and there was no one in the residence. Obviously, people like Zhou San lived in very secluded places. How could it be possible to search for him using large amounts of data? However, as long as he was still in the dark and light zone, Xiao AI had a way to find his whereabouts. After returning to the apartment, Wang Lan directly asked Xiao AI to search for Zhou San's whereabouts, and the four of them returned to their rooms to sleep. The next day, Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu went through the case files in the police station, hoping to find new clues or find a suitable case. While looking for the missing girl's case, the four-person team did not slack off. They successfully destroyed a few drug gangs and a few underground casinos. Anyway, looking for this well-hidden trafficking gang was like eating meat, and Wang Lan and the others have been drinking soup for the past few days. Lanzi, look, there's a Dama gang that specializes in solving problems for people. They must have sensed a crisis recently, and they're not being honest. They're actually hiring international Takashi Hoshi assassins. They're trying to fight us head-on. Let's take them out tonight. Also, this money laundering company specializes in laundering money for the whole world. However, they have a legitimate company as a cover. If we want to take them out, we need to collect enough evidence and upload it to the assessment headquarters. Also, there's another risk, which is that the money laundering company does not endanger the security of Saint Dezhou. I don't know if they're part of our exam questions. In the four-person team, Su Xiangwen was mainly responsible for collecting targets that could be taken out. The targets that had been drinking soup for the past few days were all collected by Su Xiangwen. Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, Wang Lan's computer suddenly sounded an alarm. Wang Lan quickly went to the computer. Xiao AI had successfully found George's whereabouts. Through Xiao AI's search, George went out 2 hours ago and went to a dormitory area in Saint Dezhou. Although it was daytime, no one said that dawn could only appear during the day. As long as there was darkness, there would be dawn. After changing their equipment, Wang Lan and the others disappeared from the apartment with a whoosh. Dormitory area was very straightforward. It was an area where the population was very densely populated. A densely populated area was, of course, a place where the poor gathered. No matter where it was, most people were poor. In a building in the dormitory area, in a dilapidated and crowded house, a woman huddled in the corner with a child in her arms and looked at the bald white man sitting on the sofa in horror. Her body was trembling uncontrollably, and tears were falling from the corners of her eyes. A man with disheveled hair and a face full of blood was kneeling in front of George. His body was also trembling uncontrollably. George gently put down the ashtray in his hand. The ashtray was covered with blood. Many people know that I'm one of the few generous people in this city. Your closest friend is only willing to lend you a few thousand yuan for emergencies, and your blood relatives can only give you tens of thousands of yuan at most. We're not related to each other, and we don't even know each other. But I trusted you so much that I lent you 100,000 green coins to tide you over. But unfortunately, you have failed to live up to my trust in you. I have never understood why it is so difficult for me to meet a trustworthy person. Is it because this is a cursed city, so you have fed your integrity to the dogs? I lent you the money, and the only thing I asked of you is that you can return the money on time. But what about you? You delayed it again and again. I'm sorry. No, I don't want to hear sorry. I just want to see you return the money. I lent you 100,000 green coins, which should be 300,000 green coins with interest. But what about you? Only 150,000 green coins? My God, you can only return half of the money. I suddenly feel despair in this world. I'm sorry. Give me some time. I will definitely return the money. I will definitely. The market is not very good recently. Do you know how much risk I took this time to come to you to collect the money? Although the guy called Daybreak only moves at night, who knows if he will appear during the day? So, I can't wait anymore. I also know about your family situation. Even if I give you a year to earn money, you won't be able to earn that much. How about this? You and your wife can earn money together. Of course, if you want, you can let your children earn money together. I heard that children are very valuable recently. Those big bosses are getting more and more picky. They want to change their taste. No, I beg you, let us go, let us go. The middle-aged man suddenly became anxious. He grabbed George's trousers with his blood-stained hand. This pair of trousers is worth 10,000. Sigh, why are you so careless? He stood up and suddenly picked up the ashtray on the table. Forget it this time. Let's just treat it as 10,000 pa. The moment the ashtray fell, a hand suddenly appeared and caught the ashtray. Xiao Shan turned around abruptly, only to see four mysterious people wearing moon-white masks with a black background and red clouds. In an instant, George's heart suddenly thumped. Who are you people? Daybreak. Wang Lan faintly spat out the two words. The moment she spoke, the 5 bodyguard beside Xiao Shan instantly opened fire. Gunshots exploded and bullets flew. However, all the bullets froze 3 feet away from Wang Lan. In the air, a strange bullet wall was formed. Ka. George and the rest only started to sweat in despair when there was not a single bullet left in the gun chamber. Wang Lan lightly waved his hand, and all the bullets fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Wang Lan smiled and lightly waved his hand. George's subordinates instantly flew out of the window, accompanied by shrill screams. The sound of heavy objects falling to the ground could be heard. Your intuition is very accurate. No one said that we would only appear at night because we are relatively more civilized during the day. However, it is clear that you have started to move during the day. You're called George, right? Yes. Sir, can I help you? Nothing. I just want to ask you something. It's not convenient to talk here. Saying that, he grabbed George's collar, and the 5 of them disappeared with a whoosh. Until everything ended, the family of 3 in the shabby room was immersed in a daze for a long time. Chapter 574. After bringing George to the rooftop, without waiting for George to say a word, Wang Lan's palm had already covered George's head, and his spiritual power instantly rushed into George's mind. George's memories flashed past Wang Lan's eyes like a slide. After ignoring the unnecessary information, he found the information about why George wanted to kill Bill. The person who killed Bill was not hired by George, but the person who killed Bill's wife and son was hired by George. There was indeed a boss behind George, and this boss was practically the emperor behind the scenes of the entire Saint-Dejoux. His influence spread across the 5 cities of Saint-Dejoux, and every city and district had this Boss Jin's spokesperson. Although George was involved in the loan shark business, he was only one of Boss Jin's henchmen. There was a round table society in the dark and light district. There were 4 members of the round table society, and they all listened to Boss Jin's instructions. Boss Jin was indeed involved in the human trafficking and organ trafficking business, or it could be said that this business was only one of his many businesses. The 4 people of the round table represented the 4 businesses of prostitution, gambling, and poison respectively, and George was one of them. Casinos and loan sharks were basically inseparable. And in every city and district, there was such a round table society, where small round table societies formed a huge and powerful round table society. And the reason why the round table society was so mysterious, and even most of the underworld people did not know of its existence, was because only the core members of the round table society knew of it, and the underlings and others were replaced by other names. Tattoo gang, hip-hop gang, biker gang, and so on. Perhaps they all belonged to the round table society. George's memories did not have the whereabouts of these 9 girls, but according to the business process in George's memories, these 9 girls had to be selected based on their appearance. The beautiful ones would be kept and trained to be prostitutes. The talented ones would be trained to be slaves, but if they did not have a good appearance or talent, then they could only be killed like pigs and sold for their organs. George and the gang behind him had done countless things, and with such a demon in Saint Dejoux, it was a miracle that the people of Saint Dejoux were still alive. And this boss Jin's power was not only in Saint Dejoux, but also in most countries around the world. It was just that the Round Table Conference did not have much influence in other countries. Wang Lan gently let go of his hand. George had already turned into a bald idiot. Wang Lan coldly pushed George off the roof, causing him to fall to his death like his subordinates. How is it? Have you found any clues? Those 9 girls probably can't be found anymore. Wang Lan sighed in a low voice. But it's expected that we won't be able to find it. However, the power behind this isn't limited to the Dark and Light District. Boss Jin is the underground emperor of the entire Saint Dejoux. Report to the higher-ups? That's the only way. This question had already exceeded the scope of the examination. Although talented geniuses could even do questions that were beyond the scope of the syllabus, since it was beyond the scope of the syllabus, shouldn't they at least tell the examiner? What if they really crossed the border and were judged to be unqualified? The bracelet had the function of directly contacting the headquarters, but the rules of the exam also stated that they could not casually contact the headquarters. Every time they contacted the headquarters would deduct a certain number of points based on the content of the contact. No matter how good your reasons are, points will definitely be deducted. All the examinees would rather think of their own solutions than ask for help from the headquarters. However, before asking the headquarters, Wang Lan's team needed to take down all the members of the Round Table within the Dark and Light District and obtain sufficient information. When the cleaners downstairs began to clean up the corpses, Wang Lan's team instantly took action. First, they took down the leader of the Round Table, who was in charge of human trafficking and organ trafficking. Human trafficking was when they actively searched for suitable targets and followed them. When the time was right, they would kidnap them. Organ trafficking was when they first accepted orders and matched the buyer's organs. Once they found a suitable target, they would kidnap and extract the organs. As for the victims, they would be dealt with directly. In Saint Dejoux, wasn't it normal for 2 people to go missing? However, there was still no information about the 9 girls in this person's memory. Perhaps he had kidnapped too many people, so many that he had long forgotten about the 9 targets. Either that, or the disappearance of the 9 girls was not the Round Table's doing. But no matter what, the Round Table deserved to die. Therefore, other than George, who was thrown to his death, the other 3 were all executed by Wang Lan in an extremely cruel way. Generally, Wang Lan's subordinates would break an arm or a leg of an ordinary gang. However, when it came to the Round Table, Wang Lan chose to kill without mercy. In the past 2 days, the Dark and Light District was filled with corpses. Wang Lan's team was ruthless in killing trash. Even the villains in the Dark and Light District who killed without batting an eye were terrified. Were they still superheroes? Were they so ruthless in killing people? Team 7, this is the headquarters. What can I do for you? Hello, headquarters. I'm Team 7, codenamed Pain. We've investigated a dark organization that covers the entire Saint Dejoux called the Round Table. Their member structure is a molecular structure. Through the conversation, Wang Lan reported the formation of the Round Table Society, as well as the information they gathered on the members of the Round Table Society to the headquarters. This was because the Round Table Society covered the entire Saint Dejoux and had members in all 25 regions. Because the structure of the Round Table in each district was similar, and Wang Lan had already figured out Boss Jin's identity, The Round Table was basically on the chopping board, ready to be cut at any time. Wang Lan didn't ask for help from headquarters, but told them to organize a super criminal gang that covered the entire Saint Dejoux city. Team 7, the information you provided is very important. Headquarters has decided to give you special points. You just need to deal with the members of the Round Table in your district. Also, the examiner has decided to give you extra authority. If you need to leave the country for investigation, you can apply to headquarters, but you can't leave the country to steal points from others. Understood. Wang Lan had expected that headquarters would give Wang Lan this authority. It was impossible for the International Security Committee not to know Wang Lan's identity and ability. To put it bluntly, Wang Lan was giving them face by participating in their assessment. At the same time, Wang Lan was good at digging up moles. This time, Wang Lan could dig up a round table. Then, was there only one round table in Saint Dejoux City? There might be more than that. Since the International Security Committee had accepted this mission had to be done beautifully. They had to find and kill every single one of the illegal organizations hiding in the dark. Temporary mission: eliminate the round table. Please receive the message from the round table now. At the same time, the bracelets of the 25 teams sent out a message. The other candidates were having headaches because of the increasingly cunning criminals and the underworld members who were hiding deeper and deeper. At first, their exams went very smoothly. At night, Saint Dejoux City was rampant. But after a few days, these underworld members hid in their holes like groundhogs. Those who had some experience in pursuing criminals could still get a few rounds, but the teams that usually believed in muscle fist had nowhere to use their strength. The exam was for a month, and only 10 days had passed. If this went on, they would definitely be at the bottom. They had not expected to be given a pillow when they were sleepy. It seemed that the examiners had not left them alone. It seemed that the organizers would often issue such temporary missions in the future. As long as they performed well, they would definitely get good results. Many of the teams instantly figured out the truth when they saw this temporary mission. It was as if they had seen the truth and were suddenly enlightened. Wang Lan and the others naturally ignored this message. The round table in the area they were in charge of had been cleaned up. When the four of them returned to the apartment, the points in their bracelets had become 1,100 points. In the past few days, they had only gotten 500 points from eliminating the underworld gang, the street racer gang, the bosses of the three major gangs, and George and the other members of the round table. However, they had been given 500 points for providing this clue. Sure enough, the key to getting rich was to fish out such a big fish that had been hidden very deeply. The next afternoon, Wang Lan received another temporary mission on his bracelet. Temporary mission: assemble. Team 7, please secretly arrive at the designated location before 6:30 p.m. to participate in the final encirclement of the round table. It seems that the round table is not simple. They actually want 100 galaxy realms and dozens of star sea realms to join forces to encircle and annihilate them. If it were an ordinary country, it would have been destroyed in the face of such power, right? Lan Zi, do you want to reply to the headquarters that there's no need to go through so much trouble? Our team will take care of everything. Do you think that's possible? The examiners need to be fair. If they only give us the mission, then the other teams will have nothing to drink. Everyone will definitely participate in the final attack. However, how many points we can get depends on our own abilities. As the night gradually deepened, Wang Lan and the other three went to the designated location to hide. With the perception of Su Xiangwen's Heaven's Eye, the other teams could not hide from him. The base of the round table is 100 meters underground in this villa group. It covers an area of about 8 square kilometers and has about 2,000 people. Su Xiangwen whispered in Wang Lan's ear. At 12 o'clock, Team 18 is 3 kilometers away. At 1 o'clock, Team 21 is. Not only did Su Xiangwen detect the location of the enemy clearly, but he also detected the location of the allies clearly. If they could still lose under such circumstances, they should commit seppuku. Team 7 and Team 12, please take note. You will be the assault force. After 5 minutes, launch a surprise attack on the underground headquarters of the Round Table at the same time. My mission requirement is that as long as it is a member of the Round Table, kill them without mercy. Attention, all teams. After Team 7 and Team 12 make their move, immediately attack and encircle them. Do not let any member of the Round Table escape. Understood. The Round Table will be annihilated. Mission completion reward: 50,000 experience points, 3,000 skill points. When Wang Lan stood in the blood-stained ruins, when this fierce person in front of him knew that there was no hope of escaping, he simply dug out his own heart and chose to commit suicide. A notification sounded in his mind. There was no suspense in this mission. Even if the strength of the Round Table Society was indeed very strong, even if they had 3-star Sea Realm experts and were known as the 3 Great War Gods, even if they had dozens of Galaxy Realm experts and countless Nebula Realm experts under their command, compared to the examinees who could fight a war that could destroy a country, the difference was not as simple as just a little bit. When Wang Lan's Team 7 and Yulia's Team 12 bared their fangs, the Round Table was like instant coffee. With a whoosh, it was washed away. Chapter 575. After completing the Round Table Society's annihilation mission, all the participating teams received a certain amount of points. Of course, the biggest points were definitely obtained by Wang Lan's and Yulia's teams. As Su Xiangwen had successfully discovered and saved more than 100 girls who had been used for experiments, the examiners had given him some extra points as a reward. Wang Lan did not know how many points the others had, but he guessed that his team was not far from first place. The smile had just appeared on his face when it suddenly froze. Wang Lan then realized that the mission in the system had not been completed. It was the case of the 9 missing girls. Wang Lan had always thought that the disappearance of the girls was caused by the Round Table Society. Now that the entire Round Table Society had been annihilated, no matter if the 9 girls were dead or alive, there should be an explanation, right? The system notified that the Round Table Society had been annihilated, so there was no possibility that they had not been eradicated. In other words, the disappearance of the 9 girls had nothing to do with the Round Table Society. Wang Lan asked the headquarters for the information seized from the Round Table Society. All of them were converted into electronic files for Xiao AI to download. After Xiao AI's analysis, Wang Lan finally came to the conclusion that there was a secret gang in Saint Dazhou that specialized in human theft and even infant theft. In fact, the Round Table Society knew a little about the existence of the other secret gang. However, the other party hid too well and was very strong. In addition, the other party seemed unwilling to participate in the Round Table Society's business, so the Round Table Society did not investigate further. However, Wang Lan analyzed a few pieces of information from the Round Table Society's information. First, the people chosen by this secret organization were mostly young. Most of them were kidnapped by the organization when they were around 4 or 5 years old. These 4 or 5-year-old children were actually worthless to the Round Table Society. They were too young to be sold, and their organs could not be used because they had not developed yet. However, the organization behind the scenes seemed to be very interested in this age group, causing hundreds of children to go missing in Saint Dazhou every year. A year ago, if the 36 missing cases were not done by the Round Table Society, then it was done by the hidden organization. Wang Lan, what are you looking at? Hasn't the Round Table Society been annihilated? Jiang Xinyu asked when she saw Wang Lan reading the information about the Round Table Society seriously. The Round Table Society is just a criminal organization that we found by accident. Actually, the real mastermind behind the scenes is still hiding in the dark, Wang Lan said solemnly. Is there another organization like the Round Table Society hiding in the dark? CSCC asked curiously as she walked over and sat beside Wang Lan. That's not all. That organization hides even deeper than the Round Table Society and is even more powerful and terrifying. Look here. The Round Table Society was established 12 years ago. In the past 12 years, it has grown to dominate almost the entire Saint Dazhou Dark World. However, That mysterious organization had started to steal people 30 years ago, and they were all children of 3 or 4 years old. The Round Table Society had once thought of investigating this secret organization, but they quickly gave up. One could imagine that the Round Table Society must have been warned by that organization, so they quickly gave up. The disappearance of the 36 people last year should have been done by that secret organization. Moreover, the people that the Round Table Society abducted had a place to go. They were either sold as slaves, prostitutes, or their organs were extracted and sold. However, the mastermind behind the scenes seemed to only be entering and not exiting. Or maybe they only imported people and didn't sell them in Saint-Dejoux, so there's no trace of them in Saint-Dejoux. Then, do we still need to investigate? Of course, we need to investigate. Maybe we can get a lot of points. I'll look again. Hopefully, I can find some clues in the Round Table Society's information that we can continue investigating. Ding dong. Suddenly, an email notification popped up on the desktop of the computer. It was an email from James. It was impossible for Wang Lan to give his real email to James, but he could get Xiao AI to create a virtual email and forward it through Xiao AI. Unless the other party's computer skills were better than Xiao AI's, it was impossible for them to find Wang Lan's whereabouts through email. There was a video file in the email. Xiao AI had already checked it. There are no Trojans or viruses in this video file. Wang Lan clicked on the video. In the video, there was an old lady shopping on the street. Suddenly, there was a strange movement. A skinny young man rushed to the old lady, pushed her to the ground, and bit her head. After a while, the old lady's face was bitten into a bloody mess, but the young man didn't stop. The scene in the video became more and more bloody, causing more and more intense discomfort. CSCC's face suddenly turned pale when she saw the video. She covered her mouth, stood up, and rushed to the bathroom. Wang Lan only felt a chill on his back. The young man in the video actually bit the old lady to death. The video ended quickly. Wang Lan's eyes had turned cold. He stood up and left. Soon, Wang Lan's figure appeared in James's apartment. The German Shepherd once again jumped up and barked at Wang Lan. James also immediately saw the creator, Wang Lan with a black background and a red cloud cloak. Morning, you're here. I saw the email you sent me. What do you mean? This case happened this morning. The man's name is Nick. He already killed 3 people in one morning. He is now under police control. At first, we thought he was infected by a prion virus, but the test results were shocking. Nick is dead. His brain is dead. His heart is no longer beating. All of his organs have begun to rot, but he can still move and bite people to death. Can you imagine how ridiculous I felt when I received the test results? Although I know the Saint-Dejoux Police Department is rotten to the core, they still wouldn't check a living person as a dead person. Nick is still in the forensic department of the police department. He is still trying to bite people. There are clear livor mortis all over his body. Zombie? Wang Lan's face suddenly changed. James's words clearly said that Nick was a zombie. Was the Resident Evil about to start? Where's the body? I want to see it. At the police station. I will take you there. This time, even Director Chiao Sun attached great importance to it. Although the police department has been corrupted by money, they cherish their lives more. This zombie is a threat to everyone's lives. Wang Lan couldn't enter the police station openly because he was using Morning Dawn's identity. But sneaking in wasn't difficult for Wang Lan. When James entered the forensic department, Wang Lan slowly rose from the ground. The 2 forensic doctors in the forensic department were shocked when they saw a person suddenly emerge from the ground. A moving corpse had already worn away their courage. When Wang Lan appeared, they were so scared that they almost threw away the scalpels in their hands. But at this moment, on the autopsy table, there was a body of skin and bones roaring. Its mouth was full of bright red blood. Wang Lan walked forward and pressed his palm on Nick's back. After sensing, his face became serious. There is no sign of life. It really is a zombie. You? Who are you? The forensic doctor looked at Wang Lan nervously. Me? I am Morning Dawn. Wang Lan calmly replied. How did he become like this? I don't know. What I can be sure of is that he was infected with some kind of virus. Even if he is dead, The virus can invade the host's nerves and control the host's nervous system. Wang Lan activated the decomposition of all things ability and instantly disintegrated Nick's palm. After receiving the results, Wang Lan's face suddenly changed. Takashi Hoshi's poison. Takashi Hoshi's poison? He was poisoned by Takashi Hoshi's poison? James asked in shock. Maybe it was an attack from a poisoned Takashi Hoshi. Maybe it was an attack from a poisoned beast. There is also a possibility that he entered a different dimension with Takashi Hoshi's poison. Right? Is this Nick a Takashi Hoshi? No, he's just a drug addict. A while ago, the drug gangs were taken down by you guys. Many drug addicts have gone crazy. This Nick might have taken Takashi Hoshi's poison as a drug. Where's his house? A rotten person like him doesn't have a home anymore. However, the police just found a lead. The male forensic doctor suddenly said, they seem to have found the drug dealer who supplied Nick with drugs. Where is he? I don't know, but our director has personally led a team out. This forensic doctor was not a bad person. Perhaps he was an accomplice in the police station, but he was definitely not doing it willingly. His original intention to study forensic medicine was to seek justice for the victims. However, this original intention was extinguished by the cruel reality when it had just sprouted. Through Xiao AI's tracking, Wang Lan easily found Nick's house where Jewel was staying. The Black and Light District Police had already quarantined Jewel's house. Many officers were searching everywhere for clues. Wang Lan's group of 4 entered the apartment silently. There was a person sitting on the sofa. It was a skinny, bearded man, looking up at the ceiling. His face was covered in a beard. There was a bloody hole in between his eyebrows, and blood was gushing out. Looks like they've been silenced. Su Xiangwen's cold voice rang out. It was unknown whether Su Xiangwen was infected by Wang Lan or his Chinibu genes had been activated. After putting on the black cloak with red clouds, he seemed to have changed into a different person. His tone was stiff and cold. The moment he opened his mouth, he sounded like a proper villain. Who is it? The police officers jumped up and took out their pistols to point at Wang Lan's group. Put away your toys, Su Xiangwen said calmly. I'm the police director, Johnson. You guys are Daybreak, right? That's right. Black Tortoise, don't waste time. Wang Lan said calmly. Since they were using the name Daybreak, they could use their code names together. It would save them the trouble of thinking. Su Xiangwen had super strong investigative abilities. Of course, his code name had to be Black Tortoise. If it weren't for the fact that it was too troublesome to make, Wang Lan would have even made a ring. Su Xiangwen's third, I wasn't restricted by anything. Therefore, even under the mask, Su Xiangwen could still open his third eye. Every hidden corner in Jewel's room couldn't hide from Su Xiangwen's eyes. Suddenly, Su Xiangwen saw a hidden compartment behind the wall. Su Xiangwen came to the wall and lightly punched it. The wall let out a muffled sound and a huge hole was punched out. In the hole, Su Xiangwen took out a bag of blue stuff. Don't touch it. This is important evidence. Hand it to the police. Wang Lan just casually raised his head and looked at Johnson. There was only one meaning in his eyes. Are you kidding me? He took out a pill and activated myriad decomposition. Chapter 576. Within a few seconds, the blue pill was broken down into trace elements, but Wang Lan's face suddenly changed. What about the people who were bitten to death by him? Are they under control? The people who were bitten to death by him are all in the morgue of the police station. I know what you're worried about. You're afraid that the virus is contagious, right? Director Chiao San said with a big belly, we have checked. The people who were bitten to death by him did not turn into zombies, so the virus is not contagious. Since it is a virus, it must be contagious, Wang Lan said with a serious look. The reason why it is not contagious is that the drug contains ingredients that can kill the contagious properties of the virus. If it is the original Takashi Hoshi toxin, it must be contagious. The mastermind used drugs to suppress the contagious properties of Takashi Hoshi toxin. Why? Su Xiangwen asked in confusion. Maybe it is a warning to us. If we continue to provoke him, he can turn Saint Dazhou into a city of zombies. Wang Lan said in a deep voice and waved his hand. "Let's go." The four disappeared into the floor. Seeing Wang Lan and the other three disappear, Qiao Sen's face instantly became gloomy. How could they come and go as they pleased? Were they not giving him face? Morning break. Humph. Back in the apartment, Wang Lan immediately connected to the headquarters with his watch. It had only been 2 days since the last mission ended. Team 7. This is the selection headquarters. What happened this time? Reporting to the headquarters. A zombie appeared in the dark and light district. The name of the infected person is Nick. He is a drug addict who became a zombie after taking a drug. His body is dead, but the virus can control the corpse to attack humans. I have checked the virus. It is a type of Takashi Hoshi toxin. Also, this drug is man-made. Its effect is to suppress the contagious properties of Takashi Hoshi toxin. Obviously, it is easy for the mastermind to make the zombie virus contagious. Zombie Takashi Hoshi toxin? Are you sure? Yes. I understand. I can tell you something. 20 years ago, there was a zombie virus outbreak in Saint Dejo. At that time, an alternate dimension had appeared. The exotic beasts inside were extremely violent and aggressive. Most importantly, these exotic beasts carried the strange Takashi Hoshi virus in their bodies. Any Takashi Hoshi who were bitten by it would turn into a walking corpse within a few hours. 20 years ago, the International Security Committee had dispatched 12 7th-level agents to successfully shut down the alternate dimension. Our side also suffered heavy losses in that battle. 20 years ago, could it be that the alternate dimension has opened again? The probability of the same alternate dimension being opened twice is less than 0.1%. I'm more inclined to believe that a sample of Takashi Hoshi's poison from 20 years ago was left behind. You just said that the man named Nick took some kind of drug to become a zombie. Yes. Can our 7th squad investigate the mastermind behind this? Absolutely. But I need the authority to cross borders to investigate. I don't think the mastermind's power is limited to a small place like the dark and light zone. That's not a problem. But I have to remind you that you can only investigate things related to the zombie virus. You can't do anything else. This will affect the normal assessment in other zones. Understood. Also, I've already analyzed the composition of the Takashi Hoshi toxin. Unfortunately, I can't compile a vaccine. Why? Even you can't compile a vaccine? Wang Lan's ability to compile antibodies and vaccines was second in the world. The International Security Committee knew this. If Wang Lan couldn't do it, no one else could. Not all genetic codes can be edited into the human body. Some of the codes can cause unpredictable changes in the human body. I've just edited it. There are too many dangerous codes in the antibodies of the zombie virus. Understood. Then we can only completely eliminate this virus. I'll leave everything to you. I hope you can make another S-rank contribution. The call was cut off. Wang Lan's goal had been achieved. Moreover, the last sentence of the examiner made Wang Lan overjoyed. She would be given another S-rank contribution, which meant that she had been given an S-rank contribution during the roundtable meeting. XINU have Bing Shui organize all the pharmaceutical companies in Saint Dejo. From today onwards, our main task is to find the pharmaceutical company that created the blue zombie virus. Okay. Night came quietly. 4 figures flashed under the night sky, rushing to different pharmaceutical companies. In the dark and light zone, there were a total of 120 pharmaceutical companies. In other countries, there wouldn't be this many, but this was Saint Dejo, a place filled with violence and pornography. At first, they mainly used anti-inflammatory drugs and bisexual drugs. But later, they realized that this was the city of sin. Did the city of sin have to consider the patent fees? There was no need, so they quickly began to copy all kinds of expensive drugs from all over the world. Their performance was almost the same, but they could make huge profits. Other than high-tech drugs like the life potion, which they couldn't produce, there were no restrictions on other chemical drugs. International laws couldn't control this lawless place. Thus, Saint Dejo's pharmaceutical technology became incomparably developed. It took them 3 days to search all the pharmaceutical companies, but unfortunately, It didn't find anything. In the early morning, the four returned to the apartment. Looks like we'll have to search the other zones starting tomorrow. There are a total of 25 zones. Each zone has the same number of pharmaceutical companies. In order to increase efficiency, we'll have to split up. Then, I'll be in the same group as Wang Lan, CSCC suddenly suggested. Seeing Jiang Sinyu's puzzled look, CSCC quickly said, Su Xiangwen and I are both Galaxy Realm cultivators. You and Wang Lan are both Star Sea Realm cultivators. This way, your strength will be more balanced. Xiangwen has the Heaven's Eye, which is a powerful detection skill. If there's any danger, he can sense it in advance. CSCC's explanation was impeccable. With Wang Lan's strength, no matter what kind of enemy came, they would be sent to their deaths. Although Jiang Xinyu was also very strong, she was still a lot weaker than Wang Lan. With Su Xiangwen by her side, Jiang Xinyu didn't think too much and nodded in agreement. Wang Lan marked the pharmaceutical companies and factories in the other 24 zones on the map. Then, he printed out 2 copies, one for each person. Then, they returned to their rooms to rest. The next morning, Wang Lan's group of 4 split up. Wang Lan went to the 3rd zone first. Searching for pharmaceutical companies was a night job. During the day, people would be at work. With so many people around, it would be easy to be discovered. Resting during the day would allow one to have enough energy at night. When they arrived at a hotel, the hotel staff came up to them and greeted them. Hello, sir. Do you need a room? Give me 2 rooms. 1 is enough. CSCC suddenly interrupted Wang Lan. Wang Lan took the room card under the staff's knowing expression. After opening the door and entering the room, Wang Lan first checked the room. Sure enough, he found 3 pinhole cameras in the hidden corners. Wang Lan was still worried. He asked Xiao AI's clone to hack into the hotel system. After completely eliminating the possibility of surveillance, he closed the curtains. Suddenly, CSCC hugged Wang Lan from behind. She clung tightly to Wang Lan's back. Wang Lan, I miss you so much. There are thousands of words that couldn't be used to respond to CSCC's deep affection. Only one day could he express his feelings. That day, from morning to dusk, the spiders in the room were all crying as they were forced to leave their homes with their children. They couldn't stay in this room for the time being. CSCC's gentleness was something that Jiang Xinyu couldn't experience. CSCC was usually very shy, but she was very wild and unrestrained in bed. For a moment, Wang Lan even felt that his knowledge was lacking. Tossing and turning in so many positions didn't seem to be enough. During the day, he stayed in the hotel to recuperate. After dark, he secretly snuck into the various pharmaceutical companies to look for clues. Before he knew it, 7 days had passed. During these 7 days, Wang Lan searched 3 areas. He was practically digging 3 feet into the ground. However, he still didn't find any suspicious pharmaceutical companies. After all, the zombie virus was a type of Takashi Hoshi. As long as it existed, it couldn't hide from Wang Lan's senses. Wang Lan arrived at the 12th area. This area should be the area that Yulia's team from the Nation of God was in charge of. A girl who had surpassed the titled rank and even reached the astral soul realm. Before this, there was no information at all about her. Either the Nation of God was too good at hiding, or this Yulia had been too low-key. On the 3rd floor of an inconspicuous hotel, in an inconspicuous room, the heavy wooden bed continued to vibrate, and a spider fell from the ceiling with a thud. With tears in its eyes, the spider looked back at the 2 people fighting on the bed. Then it crawled to the crack under the door with grief and anger. It's too hard for me. Bang, bang. Wang Lan and CSCC had just finished showering and walked out of the bathroom. Suddenly, 2 gunshots rang out. Wang Lan walked to the curtain and lifted a corner to look down. A middle-aged man with tattoos on his face was holding a shotgun. He fired 2 shots at a bald man who was slowly walking over. He was the one holding the gun. The bald man was unarmed, but his expression was so helpless, terrified, and desperate. Save me. Someone save me. I don't want to die. Angel, Angel, where are you? Come save me. CSCC moved to Wang Lan's side and licked Wang Lan's ear with her sexy tongue. Should we help him? This is Team 12's area. We can't get in their way. Let's put on our clothes first and see what happens. I'm so tired because of you. I don't have any strength now. Can you help me put on my clothes? CSCC grabbed Wang Lan's arm coquettishly and smiled. Huh, I'll be damned if I believe you. Wang Lan touched his waist. He actually felt a little tired. Bang! Another gunshot rang out. Save me, save me. There's something wrong with this bald man, Wang Lan suddenly said. He's not afraid of gun attacks. Could it be a Takashi Hoshi? No, it's not a Takashi Hoshi. The bullet hit the bald man and caused an obvious gunshot wound. But the bald man doesn't seem to feel pain. Look, his chest is stained with blood. Which Takashi Hoshi would be like this? However, there was no trace of Wang Lan and Marlene in the vicinity. Yulia's eyes flashed. After a long time, she let out a long sigh. Jade State's greedy wolves really live up to their reputation. Wang Lan and the tattooed man appeared on the rooftop. Wang Lan looked at the tattooed man's frightened expression. But obviously, the tattooed man couldn't see the gentle smile on Wang Lan's face. In the tattooed man's eyes, the moon-white mask was the incarnation of death. Why did those 3 zombies want to kill you? Wang Lan suddenly raised his hand. For Wang Lan, instead of wasting time by asking questions, it was better to directly imprint his spirit. The tattooed man instantly knelt on the ground and trembled as he spoke. I'll tell you everything. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I sold a bag of newly developed drugs to a partner in the Dark and Light District without the permission of my superiors. I didn't know I was in trouble until I received a call from my superiors. I don't want to die. I know my superiors won't let me go. I was going to leave immediately and hide in the safe house for a few days. I was going to leave when they relaxed the blockade, but I didn't expect they relaxed the blockade to lure me in. I was caught by them in the end. Sold to a partner in the Dark and Light District? Is that partner called Jewel? Yes. Who is your superior? Yes, forget it. It's too troublesome to ask questions like this. I'll see for myself. Then, he pressed his hand on the tattooed man's head. No. I know you. You are from the new blue government. I know. I'll surrender now. I'll surrender. I'll follow you. I'll listen to your orders. It's too late to surrender now. We have zero tolerance for drug traffickers. CSCC said from the side. Although the tattooed man looked pitiful, a person whose family was ruined by drug traffickers was even more pitiful. But drug trafficking is legal in Saint Dejoux. I'm in a legal business. Sorry. I'm using international law. As soon as he finished speaking, a surge of spiritual energy rushed into the tattooed man's mind like a tsunami. The tattooed man's body twitched as if he had been electrocuted. After searching through the man's memories, Wang Lan found out that the bag of medicine was obtained from his cousin, and his cousin should be dead by now. His cousin was the head of security of the largest pharmaceutical company in the 12th district. On the surface, this pharmaceutical company was developing generic drugs, but in reality, they were the largest drug manufacturing factory in Saint Dejoux. After obtaining this information, Wang Lan released the tattooed man and gently pushed him off the rooftop. At this moment, Yulia and the others had just tracked down Wang Lan to the bottom of the building when the tattooed man landed in front of them with a thud. Seeing the gruesome death of the tattooed man, Yulia's eyes instantly erupted with anger. Her figure flashed, and she appeared on the rooftop, blocking Wang Lan's path. Stop! Wang Lan paused and turned his head slightly to look at Yulia. Star power surged around Yulia, and a hidden sword made of golden light was pointed at Wang Lan. Why did you kill? Don't you know that killing is the biggest sin? Can drug traffickers be considered human? Wang Lan was shocked by this woman's brain circuit and looked at Yulia in surprise. How could such a beautiful woman be a retard? Even if he is guilty, he should be handed over to the court of justice. What's the difference between you and those evil people if you kill like this? It seems that we have conflicting views. Since you think so, I can only say that you're right. Wang Lan waved to CSCC. Let's go. Stop. This is the 12th district. I can't pretend that I didn't see you killing people in the 12th district. What do you want? What are you investigating? Yulia shouted indifferently. Puffed. CSCC covered her mouth and laughed. So that's what you're thinking. Can't you just ask directly? Why find such a naive excuse? I was thinking, how can a powerful Takashi Hoshi be so naive? First of all, killing is a serious crime. I'm not talking nonsense. Second, can I get the answer I want without a valid reason? Now you have two choices. First, tell me what you're investigating and let us participate. Second, I'll arrest you for killing people in my district. Ha! You're a little too confident. As soon as she finished speaking, Yulia suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Her aura instantly locked onto Wang Lan and CSCC. No one has ever been able to lock onto my aura. Wang Lan's heart burned with anger. In an instant, a ball of fire wrapped around Wang Lan's body. Whoosh! Wang Lan's figure flashed, and a fist flew towards Yulia's ridiculously beautiful face. Yulia looked coldly at Wang Lan's fist. Her bright red lips parted slightly. Divine light, illumination, dash, boom. Wang Lan's fist instantly froze in front of Yulia. The two of them seemed to be frozen in time. On Wang Lan's fist, a powerful energy wave rippled out. It seemed to distort space. Boom! With a loud sound, a pillar of light shot into the sky. Wang Lan and Yulia retreated at the same time. Wang Lan's fist successfully shattered Yulia's divine light illumination, and Yulia's divine light illumination successfully blocked Wang Lan's fist. Wang Lan had already paid a lot of attention to Yulia. He even activated his phoenix form. Although this fist wasn't Wang Lan's strongest attack, it was definitely enough to kill a titled expert. Wang Lan had thought that this fist would at least force Yulia back. He didn't think that Yulia would be able to block it so easily. Oomph. Wang Lan's battle intense soared. His aura once again surged out. Chapter 578. Perhaps her temporary possession of Wang Lan was about to end. CSCC was extremely passionate. Not only did she use ice and fire, but she also let Wang Lan experience a poisonous dragon flying to the sky. After more than an hour, Wang Lan and CSCC arrived at the designated meeting place. White clouds danced in the sky, and the sun was warm. The green birds circled in the sky, sometimes high and sometimes low. A gentle breeze swept past, and Jiang Xinyu and Su Xiangwen appeared on the rooftop. Xinyu and I searched 5 areas in 7 days, but we found nothing. Lanzi, you're the best. We found it in the 4th area. Where is it? Su Xiangwen asked as soon as he saw them. We'll know the exact location when we search at night. The general target is red blood pharmaceuticals. This formula was created 30 years ago, and it was first used to produce aphrodisiacs and anti-inflammatory drugs. Later on, it started to make generic drugs. Red blood pharmaceuticals is famous in the pharmaceutical industry all over the world. All the major pharmaceutical companies in the world treat red blood pharmaceuticals as a scourge, but no matter how they guard against it, they can't stop red blood pharmaceuticals from infiltrating. As long as a company's special drug is successfully developed, red blood pharmaceuticals will be able to produce generic drugs within half a month. But I didn't expect that red blood pharmaceuticals is not only the world's largest generic drug company, but also the world's most advanced drug development center. This morning, I just found out from a drug dealer's memory that the blue drug in Jules' hands came from red blood pharmaceuticals. Since you took the drug dealer from red blood pharmaceuticals, is it possible that red blood pharmaceuticals is already on guard? Not yet. I killed the drug dealer a few minutes later, and I even fought with Yulia's team in District 12. Xiao AI's surveillance showed that they probably mistakenly thought that my goal was to kill the drug dealer, so they're still observing. The 4 of them checked into another hotel. Not long after Wang Lan's team left, Yulia's team quietly arrived at the hotel where Wang Lan and CSCC were staying. They're gone. One of the women said to Yulia, Dan, have they found the target of their investigation? Yulia sniffed the air and asked calmly, No, but since they have captured Clint, there are only two possibilities. The first is Clint himself, and the second is the network or power behind Clint. Clint is a drug dealer. If we kill him just because he's a drug dealer, the higher-ups will definitely not allow them to cross the border and step on our territory. With this, it could be confirmed that it was for the power behind Clint. Clint often got his hands on the latest drugs to test the waters, so he was very famous in the industry. And the channel he got his hands on the new drugs was through his cousin in the Red Blood Company. It's very likely that Daybreak's goal is the Red Blood Cell Company. Is there a problem with the Red Blood Company? Yulia asked again. So far, I haven't found any evidence that it's problematic, but from the clues I've investigated, Red Blood Cell is only a generic drug company on the surface, but it's very likely that it's a drug development organization behind the scenes. Take action tonight. Target red blood cells. But we don't have any evidence. If we act rashly without evidence, we will be given negative marks. Red blood cell won't send the evidence to us. As long as we find evidence of their drug production after the operation, won't that be enough? The three people behind him stopped talking. The four of them disappeared in a flash of holy light. Night quietly enveloped them. After half a month of severe crackdown, Saint Dejo's law and order at night were even clearer than during the day. No criminals dared to commit crimes at night anymore. Even homeless and beggars had disappeared. Gradually, the people of Saint Dejo also dared to go out after dark. The business of the bars and nightclubs began to improve. Red Blood Cell Pharmaceutical Company was a completely closed company. All the employees of Red Blood Cell were housed in the company. Even if your home was at the entrance of the company, once you entered Red Blood Cell, you had to live in the company. You could only go out for 2 days a month. The explanation for such a closed management was that it was all to protect the company's secrets. In the past, it didn't seem that special. But now, it seemed that this rule was a bit of cover-up. Because of this rule of Red Blood Cell, the internal living facilities of the company were very complete. The company had everything needed for daily life, even bars, casinos, sex clubs, and so on. The whole company was a microcosm of society. Wang Lan and the other three sneaked into Red Blood Cell. As soon as they entered, Wang Lan and the other three stopped in their tracks and couldn't move. The protective capabilities of this red blood cell were beyond Wang Lan's imagination. The entire red blood cell was wrapped in a sensor ball with a comprehensive monitoring sensor. With such a sensing range without any blind spots, even with Wang Lan's strength, he couldn't sneak in silently. Red blood cell is really something. In the underground space outside the red blood cell's sensor area, Wang Lan took out Xiao AI's clone. The powerful Takashi Hoshi is indeed not omnipotent, at least in the face of this black technology with absolute sensing. Xiao AI 899 has been successfully activated. Wang Lan, how may I be of service? Hack into the other party's central computer and have the highest control authority. Okay. After receiving the order, Xiao AI immediately hacked into Red Blood Cell's protective network. However, the intrusion was quickly repelled. Not good. The other party also has artificial intelligence. Clone 899 doesn't have enough data and can't hack further. After receiving this answer, Wang Lan's expression changed. For so many years, all the network equipment and firewalls were useless in front of Xiao AI. Artificial intelligence was nothing in front of Xiao AI. He didn't expect to be defeated here. Sinew, let Bing Shui and Xiao AI work together. Okay. Jiang Sinew took out her necklace and activated Bing Shui in the USB flash drive. Hello, Bing Shui. Long time no see. We're going to fight side by side again. Long time no see is only for you 899. I see the other Xiao AI every day. Let's not talk nonsense. I'll be the main attacker. You take the opportunity to attack, Bing Shui replied in a proud tone. Compared to Xiao AI's adorable personality, Bing Shui's personality was more similar to a human's. Why are you the main attacker? Because you're just a clone, and I'm the main program. Okay, the second round of data intrusion begins. Beep, beep, beep. Wang Lan and Jiang Sinyu's computers kept beeping. The battle seemed to be very intense. The battle in the virtual world was intense, but it didn't affect the operation of the external world at all. The protective barrier didn't even tremble. No wonder Xiao AI can't beat her. She's a pretty girl, Bing Shui suddenly said. Are there male and female AIs? Xiao AI suddenly asked. No, but why am I a girl? That's because you're set as a girl. If you change your settings, you'll become a guy immediately. Shut up. I've already blocked her. Hurry up and take the authority. Wang Lan and Jiang Xinyu looked at the data flow on screen. The battle between the AIs was still very intense. At this moment, in the dead of night, four figures approached the Red Blood Company without anyone noticing. Yulia and the other three were shrouded in the hazy moonlight. Their bodies were distorted like shadows under the moonlight. They were like a wave of light or a breeze. The Red Blood Company has electromagnetic induction. Everyone, be careful. Don't act rashly, Yulia reminded. On the other side, the AI of the Red Blood Company was losing ground under the attacks of Xiao AI and Bing Shui. Suddenly, Bing Shui sounded an alarm. Oh no, this little B asterisk TCH actually detonated the alarm system. Woo woo woo. An ear-piercing alarm sounded the moment Bing Shui finished speaking. In an instant, the entire Red Blood Company was alarmed. The weapon system in the Red Blood Company was instantly activated. The weapons hidden in the dark were ejected one by one. In the Red Blood Company's dormitory building, the employees of the Red Blood Company in the entertainment area rushed out of their rooms and onto the streets in confusion. The alarm came out of nowhere. They didn't even understand what was going on. Suddenly, a few powerful auras rushed into the clouds. The astral power of a star sea realm cultivation swept across. Wang Lan and the other three hiding underground suddenly looked up in surprise. After going through the myriad decomposition process, he confirmed that the saliva contained the lost virus. Wang Lan ordered Icy Snow to copy their experiment data and images again. Wang Lan threw some samples and the strange beasts into his portable space. What's going on? Suddenly, one of the researchers exclaimed, Where's the main body? Where are those exotic beasts? Why are they gone? What? Was it because of the alarm just now that the main body was moved? That shouldn't be the case. The sample is still here. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, a series of mechanical sounds could be heard, and a spherical metal object descended from the ceiling of each laboratory. When Wang Lan saw this, his face immediately turned cold. The spherical objects suddenly opened fire, and a dense net of firepower killed the researchers in the laboratory without any blind spots. Fortunately, Wang Lan had already ransacked the Red Blood Company before. If they wanted to silence them, then so be it. Although the weapon system was controlled by the system, it was not controlled by the artificial intelligence system. After switching to manual mode, the artificial intelligence system could no longer interfere with the weapon system. Either the Red Blood Company had already discovered that someone had sneaked in, or Yulia was too fierce outside, and the Red Blood Company was worried that they could not stop her. In addition to the firepower, the underground research facility also began to spread a terrifying Takashi Hoshi toxin. Let's retreat, Wang Lan shouted and instantly evacuated to the surface with the three of them. On the surface, the same massacre was going on underground. Wang Lan did not stop the massacre in the underground research facility because the people in the underground research facility were all researching drugs or viruses, but the people on the surface were all ordinary employees of the Red Blood Company. Wang Lan drew his Zanpakuto and instantly turned it into a sword of light. The sword rushed into the clouds and turned into countless birds of light that bombarded the rapid turrets on the surface. Almost instantly, all the turrets and round machine guns were shattered by the birds of light. The birds of light converged and once again turned into a bright sword of light in Wang Lan's hand. But even if Wang Lan rescued them in time, there were not many living people on the surface. High-speed machine guns fired hundreds of rounds per second for several minutes, enough to slaughter most people. And in the fierce battle on Yulia's side, dozens of corpses had already fallen on the ground. The angels in the 12th district don't kill people? What a joke. As Takashi Hoshi, how can they not kill people? They don't kill people because there is no need for them to kill. Some Takashi Hoshi can be captured alive. They really don't need to kill people, let alone ordinary people who can't resist in front of them. Yulia was about to stop them, but she was stopped by the boss of the red blood cell. In the instant they exchanged blows, Yulia's expression changed greatly as she retreated. This might be the strongest opponent Yulia had encountered so far. The moment they exchanged blows, both sides determined each other's strength. And in this moment of delay, the members of Yulia's squad were already surrounded by danger. Once the squad died, the entire squad would be declared eliminated. But now, it was no longer a matter of whether they would be eliminated or not, but rather, the angel squad might die here. Screech! A sharp sound of thunder rang out, and a stream of light instantly pierced through the zombie crowd. All the zombies touched by the stream of light stopped moving in place. The stream of light stopped, and a figure appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Daybreak, seeing Wang Lan, Yulia's mood was complicated, and she even felt a little guilty. Because until now, Yulia still didn't know what the Red Blood Cell Company was doing and only guessed that they were related to drug trafficking. With the intention of snatching points, they decided to attack the Red Blood Cell, but ended up alerting the enemy. Now that they knew how powerful the Red Blood Cell was, they almost failed. At the crucial moment, they relied on the Daybreak squad to turn the danger into safety. The moment Yulia saw Wang Lan, she was certain that they had turned the danger into safety. Even if the boss of the Red Blood Cell Company was very strong, could he be stronger than her and Wang Lan combined? It was impossible. In the entire world, there are no more than 20 people who are stronger than her, and no more than 15 people who are on par with her. There are a total of 35 people, and I have their information in my mind. Obviously, you don't belong to any of them. Wang Lan slowly stepped forward and stood beside Yulia as he shouted in a low voice. Who exactly are you? Me? I'm not human. As soon as he finished speaking, the other party's body instantly turned into green smoke and disappeared. Wang Lan and Su Xiangwen instantly broke free from the ocular technique, but there was no trace of the other party in the surroundings. Did he run away? Wang Lan asked hesitantly. Not good. Suddenly, Yulia screamed, and just as the words left her mouth, her body suddenly flew backwards. This scene caused Wang Lan's soul to leave his body. He had never encountered such a situation before. The other party was truly formless, without any fluctuations of star energy and without any traces of movement. Even after coming to attack Yulia, Wang Lan could not sense the other party's existence. If the other party wanted to assassinate anyone on his side, Wang Lan would not be able to do anything. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud noise, and the 3 members of the Daybreak squad suddenly flew backwards. Wang Lan's figure instantly flashed, and his sword danced, but there was nothing. Are you guys okay? Yulia asked nervously, but the 3 people on the ground did not respond at all. This scene caused Wang Lan's heart to sink. Sinew run, Wang Lan hurriedly shouted. The Soul Reaper's face changed slightly, and he suddenly shot up into the sky. I don't believe you can still fly. Wang Lan in his soul state was indeed unable to perform Takashi Hoshi skills, and naturally, he could not perform Takashi Hoshi skills that could allow him to fly. But Wang Lan was someone who had seen Shinigami. He didn't know much about Shinigami's skills, but he still had a general idea. Just now, in a moment of desperation, Wang Lan thought of the Jeppo and actually executed it by coincidence. At this moment, Wang Lan had no other thoughts. His mind was clear, and there was only one thought. Chase after him and cut him down. Stepping on the moon, he went straight into the sky. Almost instantly, he came behind the Soul Reaper and faced the sky side by side with the Soul Reaper. The Soul Reaper was slightly taken aback, but when he looked back, he saw that the light sword in Wang Lan's hand was already raised in the air. Chop! This chop was like a ray of moonlight striking down. The Soul Reaper only saw a bright moon hanging in the sky, and then a sharp edge hit the top of his head. Wang Lan's sword had already cut through the center of the Soul Reaper's head. Zanpakuto specialized in killing souls. The Soul Reaper in his soul state was cut in half by Zanpakuto, which was equivalent to his body being cut in half. The soul that was split in half fell from the air and fell to the ground with a click. The two halves of the body were still twitching slightly. Although there was no blood and no internal organs spilled, the scene was still very horrifying. Soon, the two halves of the body quickly melted like a snowman in flames, and a faint blue smoke rose and gradually disappeared. Killed the Soul Reaper, uncovered the plot of the Undead Scourge, rewarded with 5 million experience points, 300,000 skill points. The system prompt sounded in his mind, and Wang Lan's heart let out a long sigh of relief. The system determined that the other party was dead, so he must be dead. But the problem now was how to return to his body. As soon as this thought came to his mind, Wang Lan only felt a sudden blur in front of his eyes, and when he regained his vision, he was looking up at the sky. Wang Lan sat up abruptly, and only then did he realize that his soul had returned to his body. The feeling of being in the Soul Reaper state was very strange, but this experience should be the only one, right? After all, there shouldn't be a second person who can beat Wang Lan's soul out of his body. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.